So this nigga have one goal in life: reach the absolute peak of martial arts. Except he quickly realizes that one human lifespan just isn't going to cut it. But then he hears a legend. Deep in a sacred sanctuary, guarded by a divine dragon, there's a fruit said to hold the power of immortality. So he does what any reasonable person would do: he gets the fruit. His name is Gilfas Eldragon, the strongest man in the world. Cut to several decades later. Gilfas is now a frail old man lying on his deathbed, his son Gilliam at his side. He claims he has no regrets. His son immediately calls him ridiculous, because the man is literally crying about never reaching the peak of martial arts. He died the same way he lived, unfinished. And so Gilfas Eldragon closed his life. Or so it seemed. He wakes up staring at a ceiling. Baby hands, baby body. He is a baby. The fruit of immortality was actually a fruit of reincarnation, and nobody read the label. He's back in the Eldragon family nursery, his own family, surrounded by other babies. He's the patriarch, reborn as an infant in his own household. The man who defeated a divine dragon is now in a crib. The maids start feeding all the babies a glowing red liquid. The other babies immediately spit it out. It's ancient dragon blood, absurdly dangerous stuff that could kill a grown warrior. Every other baby rejects it on pure survival instinct. Gilfas swallows it, because he is not like other babies. He recognizes this for what it is, an insane amount of raw power just sitting there, and decides, as a newborn, to absorb it all. The ancient dragon blood surges through him, where the maid is staring at this infant like she has seen something deeply wrong with the universe. Gilfas processes his victory. He survived. However, is that his new body needs sleep. He is furious about needing sleep. 7 years pass. We meet Zeke Eldragon, formerly Gilfas Eldragon, currently a very jack 7-year-old doing push-ups and counting nearly to 1,000. He is built. The ancient dragon blood gave all the babies some degree of source power, but Zeke, having absorbed every last drop, underwent changes that surprised even himself. Here's how the power system works. Stars represent your own source power compressed to its absolute limit. The body is a universe, the stars float within it, and the more you have, the stronger you become. Each additional star is harder to obtain than the last. In his previous life, Gilfas reached 10 stars, the only person in history to do so. Zeke currently has 1 star. He is not pleased about this. He should have at least 4 by now. His situation, it turns out, is pretty grim. His mother died when he was young. His father, the current family head, has never once shown his face. The family ran something called the Dragon Trial, which is exactly what it sounds like. Feed dangerous substances to babies, see who survives, recruit the survivors as Eldragon warriors. Zeke survived, and then received absolutely no follow-up for 7 years. No instructor, no education, just maids. He asks his maid if this treatment seems a little off. She cannot answer that. He asks about the other family children. She cannot answer that either. He asks if there's something wrong with his physical training. She says no, she's a 3-star practitioner. She can handle basic combat education herself. And also she finds 7 years of cohabitation with minimal interaction somewhat inappropriate. Zeke goes to the forest. In the forest, he is eating poison grass. As training, he hates it. While suffering through this, he notices something has been watching him, and it steps out, an anger boar, covered in black mist. He notes this creature didn't exist 1,000 years ago. The world has changed while he was gone. He kills it anyway, effortlessly, then stands there frustrated, because he just one-shot a monster, and he's still only 1 star. He starts wondering if he should just leave. From the shadows, a mysterious figure has been watching this entire thing. Their assessment: that child is not normal. They note Zeke is essentially a prisoner. Eldragon bloodline means constant surveillance. Can't leave the estate. Then 3 men with Eldragon emblems show up at Zeke's door. They've been sent to escort him. He needs to take an examination. Zeke stares at them. He has not been taught a single thing in 7 years. I haven't been taught anything? Sometime in the last 1,000 years, the Eldragon family built a dedicated school for all children born into the family. Every kid gets brought in before age 7, educated, and assessed. Today is the entrance examination. Zeke, who has been taught absolutely nothing, is required to attend. He makes this frustration known to no one in particular. As he walks in, he bumps into a boy named Ringis, from Growscale Village. Ringis seems kind, immediately checks if Zeke is okay. Zeke's attention, however, gets stuck on Ringis' star power. It's glowing visibly, which catches him off guard. Neither of them knows what the test involves, so they're already bonding through mutual confusion. Quick pause. If you're enjoying the recap, don't forget to like and subscribe, it really helps the channel. Now, back to it. Then a 3rd kid shows up, Retin, also from Growscale Village, and immediately starts mocking Ringiz, calls him a weakling, tells him to go home, brings up that Ringiz's family are failed dragons, which, in the Eldragon hierarchy, is about as low as it gets. The family ranks run from pseudo-dragons at the bottom all the way up through whelps, child dragons, adult dragons, and elders. Rengiz's bloodline apparently doesn't even register. Rengiz says quietly that he wants to prove they're not fake. Zeke looks at Retin and asks, genuinely, why that's impossible without even trying. Retin rounds on him immediately. Zeke clarifies he has no problem with Retin personally, he's just asking the question. Retin seethes. Then Zeke, almost as an afterthought, mentions that Rengiz is probably stronger than either of them anyway. Retin is about to combust when the adult dragon examiner calls everyone to attention. The test is announced: scratch a rock. Bare hands only. 3 attempts. Everyone relaxes. The rock is a regeneration stone. It instantly repairs any scratch made to it, and more importantly, it reflects force back at you equal to exactly what you put into it. Every kid who sprints up screaming and swings with everything they have immediately gets launched into next week. Number after number steps up. The screaming is continuous. Zeke steps forward. He's spent the wait analyzing the situation. The point isn't raw power, it's how cleanly you can channel force through your body. Everyone watching assumes Zeke is going up barehanded. The crowd immediately starts speculating about how badly this is going to go for him. His fist will shatter, his arm will go flying, the rock will laugh at him. The examiner gives the go-ahead with a look that says he's seen enough children hurt themselves today that one more won't faze him. Zeke thinks to himself that 1,000 years have passed, and there are probably things he doesn't fully understand about this era yet. It doesn't matter. Rengiz panics and tries to call him back. Zeke is already moving. He announces he's about to unleash his full power as he currently is. Dragon Destruction Combat Arts, First Form, Burst Strike. The rock does not survive. The rock ceases to exist. There's a crater where a rock used to be and Zeke standing in front of it looking mildly dissatisfied with himself, because that technique was a little too advanced for his current body, and he knows he still needs more training. The crowd is silent. Then Rindy screams, "WHAAT?" loudly enough for everyone. The examiner is visibly shaken. Destroying the regeneration stone entirely isn't supposed to be possible below 4 stars. Possibly not even then. A suspicious-looking blonde girl in the crowd says, "Interesting." Someone else mutters that the technique looks familiar, but can't place it. Zeke walks over to the examiner and asks how he did. Number 315 passed. He gets handed something as a reward. Rengiz, still processing everything, also shows Zeke what he received, a healing potion. Zeke examines it and immediately clocks that it's not a standard commercial potion. It's spirit medicine. Specifically, it contains cloud-piercing clarity wood, sourced from a secret realm, filled with rare divine beasts, and is extraordinarily difficult to produce. This stuff barely appears in the world at all. Rengiz mentions, a little quietly, that his family prepared it for him. Zeke doesn't comment on the family that gets called failed dragons, apparently being capable of crafting some of the rarest medicine on the continent. He just notes it and moves on. Rengiz is up next, number 315. He's visibly shaking. Zeke asks him why he picked up a sword. Rengiz doesn't understand the question. Zeke explains plainly that a sword is the wrong weapon for him. Someone in the crowd points out that Rengiz's father used a spear, and famously fought the Sky Eldragon with it. Zeke asks the examiner if switching weapons mid-test is against the rules. It is not. Zeke turns back to Rengiz. So, will he leave it as is? Rengiz picks up the spear. He has no idea how to use a spear. Zeke's advice, thrust straight. Don't think about anything, just go forward. Rengiz processes this. It might be strange, but Zeke believed in him, so he'll try believing in himself too. He remembers Zeke's words from earlier. You can't know it's impossible without trying. Something clicks. He charges. The bullies group starts saying, "See, just changing weapons won't make any difference." The spear goes straight through the rock. Not a scratch, not a chip, clean through. The examiner loses his composure. The crowd loses their minds. Rengiz stands there in a daze, spear still extended, staring at what he just did. He asks, genuinely, what he just did. Number 414 passed. Rengiz bursts into tears of joy. The bully group is very quiet. Zeke says, "That's what I've been saying," as if he personally wagered money on this outcome. The exam wraps up and the entrance ceremony begins. The Eldragon family leadership comes out to give speeches. Rengiz points at the gloomy-looking man on stage and asks who he is. Zeke recognizes him immediately. That's the family head. His father, Balza Eldragon. Balza is 8 stars. In Gilphaz's era, 8-star practitioners were so rare there weren't even a dozen of them across the entire world. By any objective measure this should be impressive. Zeke takes one look at him and says he doesn't like him. Balza begins to speak. His presence alone starts crushing the air out of the room. Even the children are struggling to breathe. Ringies is visibly affected. Zeke notes the tremendous hostility radiating off this man and reconfirms, really doesn't like him. Balza's speech, in full, is strive to become flesh and blood of Eldragon. An official immediately fills the silence by thanking Master Balza for his generous and inspiring words, and gets on with assigning everyone to their halls, north, south, east, west. Zeke gets East Hall. Ringies gets a different one. They say their goodbyes and split off. Zeke arrives at East Hall. 1,000 years have passed and some things look different, but a room is a room. He figures his roommate has probably already arrived, opens the door, introduces himself, and stops. He knows whoever is standing in that room. The mysterious roommate is Ringies. The universe has decided these two are friends now whether they like it or not. Ringies admits he was feeling anxious being alone, which is endearing. Zeke also admits, only to himself, that he wasn't listening during the ceremony at all. He is not ashamed of this. That night, Zeke reconsiders his original plan. He'd intended to escape the estate and go on a journey as soon as possible. He's realized something. 1,000 years have passed, and the world has changed in ways he doesn't fully understand yet. Staying to observe might actually be useful. 1 month later, training is underway. The instructor teaches Dragon's Breath. Zeke watches this and immediately recognizes it. It's a simplified version of his own technique. His original was called Dragon King's Breath, a moving technique that allowed source power manipulation without disrupting movement. Zeke watches his legacy get explained to him as someone else's invention, and quietly wonders what other things have been changed or watered down over the last 1,000 years. At the cafeteria, Ringies is not eating. Zeke tells him to eat more. Ringies says his stamina feels off. Zeke says this is because he eats too little and trains too soft, and keeps going. Then a girl walks over and compliments Zeke on being impressive. Ringies immediately short-circuits. That's Lika Typhona Eldragon, daughter of the family head, one of the next head candidates. Someone Ringies considers far above their social station. Zeke has no idea who she is. Ringies explains this. Zeke points out that he's also the head's son, technically, though illegitimate. Lika, unfazed, makes her pitch. Zeke should become her subordinate. She'll provide backing. He'll provide power. She becomes head. Everyone wins. Very clean arrangement. Zeke says no thanks. Lika asks why. Zeke, who was the original head and founded this entire family, says he has no interest in family matters whatsoever. Lika attacks him, just directly attacks him at the lunch table. Zeke doesn't move much. His response is simple. He won't serve anyone, because he's the strongest. Lika, who is apparently already approaching 3 stars at this age, finds herself completely overwhelmed by a single exchange. She stares at her hands in disbelief. Then she challenges him to a formal duel. Zeke accepts immediately. Ringies spends the walk to the training ground explaining exactly why this is a terrible idea. Lika is the daughter of the current head, inherits the Typhona family's bloodline, one of the 4 core families of the Eldragon house, mastered her family's hereditary lightning greatsword technique at age 7, and is by every available metric a prodigy. He lists all of this in escalating desperation. Zeke's response is that he didn't know any of that, which means he gets to enjoy the surprise. Lika draws her sword. The duel begins. Ringies tells Zeke to be careful. Zeke, who has never been careful about anything in either of his lives, asks why Lika is so determined to challenge him specifically. Lika explains, she's going to become the next family head, and to do that she needs strength, meaning people like Zeke on her side. What follows is a crash course in Eldragon succession politics. Everyone at Dragon's Nest is essentially representing one of the 4 branch families, all competing to produce the next head. It's a whole internal arms race. Lika needs to demonstrate dominance to solidify her position. Zeke processes this family drama he's entirely responsible for creating 1,000 years ago and says, essentially, okay. Lika charges. She is fast. Genuinely fast. Her control over source power while moving is exceptional, keeping her attacks at a speed that should be impossible to track for a 1-star. The crowd watching starts to realize something is off, though, because none of the attacks are landing. Zeke isn't running, he's just not where she's swinging, every time. Lika insists she's fully focused and her attacks are perfect. Zeke is still not getting hit. The crowd starts murmuring that something is deeply weird about this. Zeke explains it calmly. Brain, body, muscle shifts. If you watch carefully enough, you can read the next movement before it happens. Everything else is just experience. He's done this for decades at the highest level ever achieved. He can see what she's about to do before she does it. Lika calls this ridiculous. Zeke dodges again. I can see it, he says. Then he hits back. Lika goes down. The crowd panics. But Zeke says it's not over. She absorbed the blow, focused all her source power into withstanding it. He notes, with something close to respect, that she's really something. Then the white aura appears around her. She's broken through to 2 stars, right there on the ground in the middle of losing a fight. The stress of the duel pushed her across the threshold. 2 stars means external aura, source power that extends outside the body, the first step toward genuinely threatening attacks. Lika stands up and thanks Zeke for it. She is now faster, noticeably faster. The crowd thinks this changes everything. Zeke dodges the new speed too. He's not surprised. He saw it coming. She winds up for the real technique now, the true form of the Thunder Greatsword, her family's hereditary martial art. The Thunder Greatsword technique arrives, and Zeke's immediate reaction is genuine delight. Lightning flash, lightning net, the techniques are completely unlike anything from his era, and he is thrilled about this. The crowd is watching a 7-year-old nearly get fried alive and grinning about it. Lika has jumped a full star mid-fight and the power difference is real. Zeke notes the movements themselves haven't changed much, her fundamentals are the same, but the moment she activates the lightning techniques, the explosive force is on another level entirely. He could counterattack. He chooses not to, because he wants to understand what this power actually is first. He is smiling. During this, Lika uses Swift Thunder, a technique described as a lightning bolt in human form. It connects. The crowd screams his name. Somehow Zeke is still standing. People on the sidelines start telling Lika to stop, that this is too much. Lika notices he's barely upright and with genuine respect, offers him an out. Admit defeat now and she'll stop. Zeke declines. Lika brings out everything. Lightning Greatsword technique. First secret art, Heaven's Thunder. The crowd watches a full power strike land on Zeke. His sword hits the ground. He says, calmly, that the match is over. Lika looks up. Zeke is standing there with lightning aura wrapped around him. She demands to know how. He looks at his own hand and says, with complete sincerity, that he has no idea. His best guess, worked out in real time, while absorbing the lightning attacks, he kept cycling Dragon King's breath, his own breathing technique. The technique is designed to take in and circulate external power. It did exactly that. With lightning, he absorbed enough that it started manifesting as aura before he even noticed. Lika asks if he has some kind of special lightning constitution. Zeke considers this seriously, and wonders if his entire bloodline might have a natural affinity for lightning. Then he decides it's time to wrap up, because a regular technique would be insufficient, creates a new one on the spot. Dragon Destruction Combat Arts, Special Form, Lightning Peak. Match over. Lika is on the ground. She insists she can't lose because she needs to protect her brothers. Zeke tells her she's extremely strong, and means it. Lika sits there for a moment, and then says something she clearly wasn't planning to, that learning new things is truly meaningful. That this was an extremely meaningful time. Zeke, for his part, tells her he's already looking forward to the next spar. She says she's no match for him. Cut to several hours later, deep inside the rift, one of the family's monster clearing zones. And standing in it is Balza Eldragon, current head of the family, 8 stars, and apparently having a normal Tuesday. He launches into Dragon Destruction Combat Arts, first form, Genesis. The monsters don't get a turn. Meanwhile, one of his officers catches up to him and reports that Lady Laka has reached the 2-star level. Balza's response is essentially, and, the officer elaborates, 2 stars at her age is impressive even for the dragon's nest lineage, and with her talent she could hit 4 or 5 stars by adulthood. Balza tells him talent doesn't matter. Tell him when she becomes an elder. Then the officer drops the other half of the report. Lady Laka was defeated. Balza turns around. The officer clarifies, she was defeated by a child the same age as her, Lord Zeke. Balza repeats the name quietly, adds, that woman's child, and moves on before any reaction can form on his face. His officer notes that Zeke reached 2 stars entirely on his own, no instruction, no teacher. Balza processes this for about 1 second and then announces they'll begin the first trial. Someone nearby points out that Zeke has only been at 1 star for about a month, and most recruits haven't even cleared 1 star yet. Balza says it doesn't matter. The trial doesn't care how long you've been training. Death visits everyone equally. Then he tells them to call back Freya, a specific person he wants assigned to observe Zeke during the trial. Next morning, Rendiz is out on the training ground running through Strike Dragon combat arts, the foundational technique of the Eldragon family, built for accessibility and designed so even young children can learn it. Rendiz is running the power flow wrong. He demonstrates the correct flow. Rendiz gets it immediately. The onlooker remarks that Zeke has completely mastered it, as expected. Rendiz wheels on them and says something to the effect of, "Why does everyone always act surprised?" While Zeke drifts off into his own thoughts and says plainly that he wants to get stronger, just a little. Can Zeke train him? Zeke says he doesn't mind. Rendiz short-circuits for a moment, checks if he heard that right, and Zeke confirms it without drama. He doesn't lie, and Rendiz is worth teaching. Then, from behind them, Lika appears. She wants in. The others on the training ground react to this roughly the way you'd expect. Lika acknowledges it directly. She grew up as a candidate for the next family head, and she genuinely believed no one her age could match her. Then yesterday happened. A kid who apparently absorbed her lightning aura mid-fight. Her pride, she says, was completely crushed. She wants to get stronger, strong enough to beat her older brothers, strong enough to eventually beat him. She asks Zeke to train her too. Zeke looks at both of them and says, after a pause, then, in the same breath, says of course he will. He won't refuse young people with ambition. She stares at him, points out they are the same age. He looks at her and says, "That's right." No correction, no apology, completely unbothered. She explains why the head position matters. If she doesn't become head, her path is political marriage. Best case, one of her cousins. Worst case, a stranger chosen for her. Zeke and Rendiz go quiet. Then Zeke very calmly says they do such disgusting things, calls the people behind that system fools, and announces he'll destroy traditions like that entirely. He doesn't get to finish the thought, because someone calls attention. A new instructor has arrived. The officer introduces her as someone who's taken time from a very busy schedule. The group turns around. She clocks Lika immediately. Then she turns to Zeke, comments that his movements are good.
"What do you mean by that?"
And says his aura quality is excellent. She introduces herself, Freya Fiwinkik, Black Dragon Core. She tells Zeke she sees, so this is what the head found interesting. She mentions his stealth technique is impressive, but what's actually got her attention is his martial arts. She can see something in how his source power flows, and she's never seen anything like it before. She wants to know what style that is. Zeke, looking at her, notices something unusual about her shoes and wonders what martial art she's using. He says, internally, "How exciting." They are genuinely both doing this to each other at the same time. Freya announces she'll be their instructor. The training ground erupts. Freya smiles and says of course she'll teach them, however, only if they pass her test. The test is simple. Take this crystal orb, go to Poison Dragon Mountain, spend a month there, come back with the orb. That's it. Zeke hears Poison Dragon Mountain and says quietly, "That's a nostalgic name. It's a region filled with poisonous creatures where a single blade of grass brushing against your skin can kill an ordinary person. It is, by any measure, a death zone. Zeke used it for training in his previous life." Freya continues, "Lose the orb, you're immediately disqualified." Disqualified means expelled. Someone asks about the monsters. Freya says, "Oh, those, you'll need to defeat them, because if you don't, there's no food. You won't survive the month." The recruits stare at her. She adds warmly that they have 5 whole days before the test starts, so don't panic. During those 5 days, they'll each choose and learn one of the Eldragon family's basic weapon arts. If they can't master it in 5 days, she won't be stepping in when things go wrong. This is Eldragon. Zeke watches all of this and wonders, internally, whether this is a different Eldragon from the one he built. Freya hands out the weapon manuals. Rendiz immediately takes the spear, same weapon he used at the entrance exam, no hesitation. Lika reaches for the Lightning Greatsword manual, reasoning she already uses the Lightning Greatsword technique so the basics should be straightforward. Zeke stops her and tells her to take the axe instead. She asks why. He says it'll cover what she's currently lacking. She thinks about it for about 2 seconds, says, "Well, if you say so," and picks up the axe. Then Freya drops the last detail. During the actual test on the mountain, the 10-year-old seniors from East Hall will also be there, and their objective is to steal the first year's crystal orbs. The group absorbs this, not just monsters, poison, and upperclassmen actively hunting them. Someone points out that all the East Hall seniors are at least 1 star, and a coordinated group attack might be hard to handle even for stronger recruits. Freya agrees that most of the first years probably won't survive this. She says it the same way someone might note that rain is likely tomorrow. Someone asks Zeke what he's going to do. Will he form a party at least? Zeke says he'll enjoy it alone. 5 days later, the group stands at the edge of Poison Dragon Mountain. Rindies is already having a quiet crisis. He's a commoner, 1 star, standing next to the candidate for the next family head, and 2 new faces from East Hall, Celine and Raymond, Dragon's Nest seniors, are already side-eyeing him. Celine says outright that she can't believe a commoner is traveling with Lady Licca. Licca shuts it down quickly. She invited them because she recognizes their abilities. Noble or common doesn't factor in. Rindy straightens up and says he'll do his best not to be a burden. Zeke, meanwhile, is going alone. Of course, he can't wait. The others are nervous enough for everyone. Freya looks over the assembled group, Licca's party on one side, Zeke has his own party of 1. She confirms everyone has their crystal orb and runs through the rules one more time. Spend a month on Poison Dragon Mountain. Hold on to the orb. All orbs are identical, which means, if you lose yours, steal someone else's. Once the first years have settled in, the East Hall seniors will enter to hunt them. Someone in the group notes that most of those seniors haven't even hit 1 star yet. Shouldn't be a problem. Freya says the explanation is over. Test begins. Everyone floods into the mountain. Rindies finds Zeke and tells him he absolutely has to survive. Licca echoes it at the rest of the group. They split off and the first years disappear into the treeline. Zeke turns and follows them. Freya stops him. The officers discuss whether this test is too early. The new students barely have stars. Their actual combat ability is still developing. Freya reassures them. Poison Dragon Mountain has a lot of poisonous creatures, but the creatures themselves are nothing impressive. The students should be fine in most cases. Then she says, quietly, that she'll be releasing that thing later. The officer asks her to repeat that. She says nothing, claps her hands, and tells everyone it's time to head out. She watches the mountain and thinks to herself, how many will survive? She's excited. Inside the mountain, Zeke moves through the undergrowth. A group of East Hall seniors spots him almost immediately. They've barely started and there's already a first year wandering alone like he owns the place. One of them calls out to him. Another says they've found one already, and wonders out loud what kind of person is still out in the open after all this time. Is he stupid? Zeke turns around. He caught the arrow they fired at him before anyone finished speaking. He's smiling. He tells them he was waiting for them. Day 1 on Poison Dragon Mountain, and Licca's group is handling themselves. Celine and Raymond are holding their own against the wildlife. Licca is clearing monsters faster than anyone else because she's a 2-star who's been at this since before most of them could walk. By the end of the first push, Celine and Raymond have both broken through to 1 star. Rindies quietly notes that the 2 of them got there, and he's still waiting. Someone tells him not to worry, he'll hit it soon. He was able to take down a tree frog alone, which apparently counts as impressive. He also trained his spear handling directly with Zeke before the test. It's fine. Getting dark. Everyone back to base. At base, there's someone already there, an upperclassman. He admits he got found out faster than expected, confirms yes, he's here to steal orbs. Elsewhere, Zeke and Rindies, away from the base. Rindies is thinking out loud about what to do if they run into someone stronger. He doesn't have a star yet. He needs a method. Zeke tells him to give up. Rindies asks him to repeat that. Zeke clarifies. A starless person cannot beat a 3 or 4 star opponent. That's not a method, that's arithmetic. However, 1 star or 2 star is a different story. The monsters on Poison Dragon Mountain top out around 2 star, same as some of the seniors hunting them. So there is a method. It's just not a complicated one. Exploit an opening. That's it. Even without stars, if you find the right moment, you can turn a fight. The question is how. The answer, Zeke says, is endure. Keep enduring until your opponent makes a mistake. Rindy says that sounds like a pipe dream against someone stronger than him. Zeke agrees. It is, unless you're actually committed to enduring no matter what. The commitment is the whole thing. And then he adds, Rindies, you still lack confidence in yourself. That needs to come before anything else. Rindy says he knows, but Zeke cuts him off. One piece of advice. Don't overthink it. You're not trying to engineer an opening through superior strategy. You're just waiting, patiently, with your spear ready. When your opponent shows the gap, you put the spear through it. That's enough. That's his weapon. Back at Licca's fight, Lightning closes the 2-star encounter on her end. Licca and the others rush over. He's not hurt badly. More importantly, he broke through. 1 star. Licca congratulates him and says now that everyone's manifested a star, they can actually hold their ground against opponents at this level. Cut to East Hall seniors sprinting through the forest. Don't come this way. Don't follow us. One of them, looking back at whatever's behind them, says, What the hell is that monster? Zeke is chasing them, not because he needs their orbs, not because he's threatened, but because he's bored and they stopped being interesting. He tells them to get up, stand up, fight him. Hey, one of them screams. Another says he's insane. A third asks out loud why the lower classman is the one doing the hunting, because that was supposed to be their job. At some point Zeke gets tired of tag and tells the ones still standing that everyone was very aggressive at first, and now they're all defensive, which is boring. 1 week into the test, Freya gets her report. The class is adapting better than expected, she's told. Roughly a week in and they're managing. But then there's the other thing. The officer struggles to find the right words. She tells him to speak clearly. He says, to put it simply, the upperclassmen are fleeing. She asks what they're fleeing from. There shouldn't be anything on Poison Dragon Mountain that makes seniors run. He says it's Lord Zeke. She stares at him. Lord Zeke is attacking the upperclassmen. Currently all of them are running away from him. Freya processes this information. Someone adds, he's gleefully hunting down the upperclassmen who are supposed to be hunting him. Freya says that's beyond comprehension. She thinks back on it. He chose solo from the start. He was weirdly calm at departure, practically happy about it. She assumed he was the target. He was the hunter the whole time. He just chose a zone with better prey. She says, I see, and nods to herself. A monster, huh? Then something gets delivered. A large creature, caged. She was apparently waiting for it. The officers immediately start asking where she's putting it, because it looks extremely dangerous. Freya says the creature's power has been specially adjusted. It only targets 2-star individuals. She tells them she'll release it at dawn, by the head's order. Balza sent this thing specifically. Zeke is getting bored again. The seniors stopped coming. Nobody's willing to face him. Even the person who was observing from the tree vanished sometime in the night. Then he feels something. A presence far off. 2-star level. But the creature type doesn't match anything he'd expect to find on Poison Dragon Mountain naturally. He wonders if it's something that evolved in the centuries since his last life. Then he wonders why the instructors aren't dealing with it. Then he wonders if they're deliberately not dealing with it. He decides he has no idea what they're thinking. He also decides this is perfect, because he was running out of things to do. He takes off at a run toward the signal, calling out to whatever's out there to wait for him. Back in Lika's camp, the golem is not waiting for anyone. Raymond tries to engage it directly and figures out immediately that nothing he has can get through the outer shell. Lika looks at all of them, understands, tells everyone to support her. Roger. They charge it together. The group takes hits. Rindy's gets knocked hard. Everyone takes damage trying to keep the golem's attention split, but they hold the formation long enough for Lika to line up the strike. She raises her sword. Lightning great sword technique. Heaven's thunder. The impact is loud enough to feel. The golem goes still. Lika drops to one knee immediately after, source power completely exhausted. The others rush to her. She says she's barely okay, asks about Raymond first, gets confirmation he's alright, and says let's get back to base. The golem's hand shoots out and grabs her. Everyone freezes. It's still moving. After Heaven's thunder, it's still moving. Rindy screams her name and charges at it, which accomplishes nothing except that he's now also in immediate danger. Then something hits the golem from outside the frame. Everyone scrambles. Lika is free. They're asking if she's okay. She says somehow, and then someone stops and says, wait, that voice. Lord Zeke? Zeke surveys the scene. The unconscious group members, the damage, the still twitching creature that just tanked a full Heaven's thunder. He looks at the golem and says, what is this clay puppet? His group walked into a 3-star class opponent. He notes, dryly, that the state he's in right now is pathetic. In his previous life he could have closed this distance instantly. Then he remembers a technique from the manual Freya handed out on day 1, nurturing dragon combat arts. He throws something to test it on the way. Not bad. Feels good. Good thing he studied it. Calls it a golem? So that's what it's called. Notes that it has a presence but not much actual force behind it. Calls it a strange creature. Rindy stares at him. Zeke examines the outer shell. Hard. Genuinely hard. He tells everyone to stand back. Dragon Destruction Combat Arts, First Form, Burst World. The application, instead of attacking from the outside, he pours source power directly through the shell and detonates it from within. The golem comes apart from the inside. Zeke says, how's that? And then says, this is fun. 1 month later. By the end, the 7-year-old cohort had been reduced to roughly 20% of its original number. The survivors, all of them, reached 1 star. Shortly after returning, Zeke is summoned to the family head's chambers. He asks out loud why he has to be called in like this. Freya, walking beside him, tells him to call Balza. Master Head. Zeke calls this fussy. Freya tells him this situation is clearly his own fault, and that he brought it on himself. Freya closes her eyes and sighs. She stops in front of a set of doors tall enough to make a point. Freya tells Zeke, one more time, to fix his attitude before they go in. He asks why. She says because he'll be killed. He says he won't let that happen on his watch. She stares at him and says he's very violent, and then they walk through the doors. Balza dismisses Freya from the room. Zeke stays. Balza asks why he attacked the upperclassmen. Zeke says, let me ask, was I not allowed to attack them? Freya, still technically in the room, looks like she wants to disappear into the wall. Balza asks what he just said. Zeke says the test conditions were to survive on the mountain and spend the time freely. He heard nothing about prohibitions. Balza's aura fills the room. The killing intent is thick enough that Freya goes rigid and thinks, you'll be killed. Zeke looks at Balza and says, stop threatening me. It's annoying. The aura drops. Balza pivots. He says, did you summon me just to ask about trivial things? Then gets to his actual question. According to reports, Zeke defeated every upperclassman assigned to the test and destroyed a golem. And now he stands here in front of the current family head without any visible fear. How did an illegitimate child obtain that kind of power? Zeke says the reason for his power is simple. There's no reason other than the fact that it's him. Balza says his attitude is as frivolous as expected, then offers a reward for the golem, one item from the dragon treasury, or access to the dragon hall up to the second floor. The dragon hall and dragon treasury are both explained here, repositories the family has been building since the first patriarch, meaning since Zeke's previous life. The dragon hall holds books, manuals, and texts including things now classified as forbidden. The dragon treasury holds legendary weapons, spirit medicines, and artifacts from every head since the beginning. Access to the second floor of Aether is strictly restricted to those who've demonstrated exceptional results. Only a handful have ever been permitted. Zeke asks if he can have both. Balza says that's all. Leave. Freya physically steps in and thanks the head on Zeke's behalf. She starts steering him toward the door. Then Balza speaks again. One thing. Zeke stops. As long as you keep killing your emotions like that, no matter how hard you try, you'll never become strong. Freya rushes them out before anything else can happen. Outside, she rounds on Zeke immediately. What was he thinking? That was the master head. There's a certain way one behaves before the head. Zeke says he should say things clearly and as much as needed. Freya says that was him showing restraint. Zeke says Balza is a family member, after all. She asks which reward he's taking. He says both. She says no. He considers, and chooses the Dragon Hall. He doesn't have enough knowledge about this era. New techniques he couldn't investigate over the last 1,000 years. Developments in the family's arts he hasn't been able to read. He's genuinely excited about it in a way that reads less like a 7-year-old getting access to a library and more like someone who has been waiting a very long time. Lika mentions she heard and says she thought he'd take the treasury. Zeke says knowledge matters more to him right now. He's heard the second floor has rarer material, including martial arts texts at each star level. He wants to read those. Lika agrees the second floor sounds more valuable, though she adds with complete confidence that she doubts there's anything there that beats her lightning great sword technique. The time limit for the Dragon Hall, 5 hours. They enter. The hall is larger than anyone expected. Rindies is visibly impressed. Zeke looks out across the shelves, books and texts and manuals built up over 1,000 years. He says, let's see if there's any knowledge here that can surprise even me. Zeke opens the first book and immediately says, what the heck is this? Rifts, chaos, magic, dimensional walls. He's reading about events that happened after he died, and there is a lot of it. About 900 years ago, roughly a century into the period after Gilphaz's death, a tear opened in the dimensional walls, a rift. What was on the other side turned out to be a chaotic otherworld, later called the Chaos Realm. The people of that world developed techniques to harness source power within themselves to survive, and at some point, the Eldragon family ended up in the middle of all of it, fighting alongside them. Through those battles, 4 warriors from the other world formed bonds with the Eldragon family deep enough to merge their bloodlines into it. Those 4 became the founders of the 4 great Eldragon branch families that exist today. Zeke sits with this. He noticed something off about Lika's lightning. The quality of it wasn't anything from his era. He'd seen something described as a strange black rod that connected to another world at some point. It clicks. The outside world techniques bled into the family line. That's what he's been looking at this whole time. Magic. He desperately starts looking for a book that explains how to actually use it. There isn't one on the shelf. He says this out loud at volume. A library attendant tells him to please be quiet in the building. Then he picks up something else. A technique that produces no presence, just motion. Just the output. He watches it described. Source power used as threads to move multiple objects simultaneously. flowing around people's bodies in patterns he doesn't recognize at all. He cannot figure out the logic of it. He finds this absolutely delightful. He starts getting louder again. The attendant returns. Zeke asks how he's supposed to be quiet in front of something this interesting. He demands something even more interesting be brought before him immediately. Then, closing time. Zeke asks what happened to his 5 hours. Outside, everyone reconvenes. Rengi's borrowed a martial arts manual and picked up a basic acceleration technique and something defensive. Other members of the group share their results. Zeke processes the list of what they found. Acceleration techniques, defensive formations, shield arts. He recognizes the DNA of every one of them, Eldragon style. All of it traces back to martial arts that were built in his previous life, carried forward and refined over 1,000 years. Lika pulls out something heavier, a text dealing with a specific development from the 15th Heads era. She mentions Dragon's Breath in passing. Zeke goes quiet for a moment. Dragon's Breath was something from before his death. The 15th Head improved it. He looks at the books brought out around him and notes that a lot of what he wanted wasn't available in the Dragon Hall at all, but the improved versions of things he did know were sitting right there next to the gaps. He says, most intriguing, he cannot wait to come back. A special rift has appeared, and inside it, magic water. And the Black Dragon Corps captain lays out the stakes in full. Drinking magic water grants a constitution that converts source power into an entirely different force, which is why the number of magic springs a house controls directly measures its military strength. Eldragon has none. Every magic user in the family, including Balza, got their water the hard way through special rift conquests, and even so the house trails behind families that own natural springs. This rift is their opportunity, except it sits in the abundant dragon forest, which bleeds into Kerberos territory, and the Kerberos family will sniff it out. N's plan, mobilize before they do. All dragons' nests are to be notified immediately. Back at the East Hall, Zeke is running his trainees through their paces. He calls out Ringis for putting too much muscle into his spear work. The brute force undercuts the technique's actual strengths. Celine gets told she's stacking speed and volume at the expense of weight. Find the balance. Raymond is doing well, but still too passive. Get comfortable attacking. Then Ringis takes a full hit to the bare body, and Lika loses her composure slightly. Letting someone get struck like that without source power active is lunacy. Zeke cheerfully disagrees and demonstrates by flexing his notably solid torso, which he has apparently been building up through exactly this kind of training. The other trainees watch in genuine alarm. Celine wonders aloud how any human body works this way. Lika, without missing a beat, clarifies that Zeke is not to be placed in the same category as humans. The seniors apparently already have a name for him, the Eastern Hall's demon child. Lika arrives to tell him they'll be seeing children from the other dragon's nest soon. She picked this up from watching the instructor's body language and the patterns of their conversations. Zeke, who had already worked it out himself, tells her to keep an eye on the West Hall specifically. They have one of the other head candidates. His reaction to this information is a single word: fun. A few days later, the arena. All grades gathered, no separation. Freya tells them to be quiet, then delivers the announcement. In 3 days, they'll fight representatives from the other 3 dragons' nests, 7 selected from each hall, drawn from 10 candidates per nest, chosen by grade. An upperclassman named Rick immediately takes issue with any lower grade students being included, announcing that no one beneath his level belongs there. Freya says she doesn't care, decide by today. Rick then addresses Lika directly. Lineage counts for nothing when it's a contest of skill. This lands slightly awkwardly when it comes out that Lika has reached 2 stars, which surprises even Rick. Zeke agrees with the general principle that selection should be based on ability, then points out that if Rick himself is the standard, there's actually room for discussion about who qualifies. When the argument keeps going in circles, Zeke cuts through it. Run preliminaries. Anyone who wants to compete enters regardless of grade. If you're confident, no problem. Freya agrees, with the editorial note that some people will be wasting their time. Zeke then turns to Ringis, Celine, and Raymond and tells them to enter. All 3 look like they've been handed a sentence. Zeke's position: they've been training under him, so if there's ever a moment to prove it, this is it. The 3 accept under obvious duress. The upperclassmen close in, Rick at the front, ready to demonstrate exactly why the grade distinction existed in the first place. The preliminaries begin. Rick charges in first. It does not go the way Rick expected. The onlookers can't quite process what they're seeing. Someone floats the theory that this year's upperclassmen are simply weak. Someone else starts to correct that framing but doesn't finish the sentence. Zeke watches and compliments his trainees on their results. He notes that Ringis' deflection timing has tightened and his openings have sharpened, that Celine is executing the multi-strike wind flower sword arts with real fluency. Everyone showed genuine improvement. Rick, on the receiving end of this, is struggling to accept the arithmetic. A 3-star losing to 2 stars is not supposed to be possible. Zeke's response is that stars are indicators, not outcomes. The strong are whoever wins, the weak are whoever loses, that's the whole of it. Rick insists this ignores source power entirely, which is not a small thing to ignore. Zeke's counter is more psychological. If you walk into a fight already certain you can't win, that certainty is the real problem. Combat strength starts with whether you believe you can win. Rick has had enough of being lectured by someone younger, and announces he's done holding back. He invokes the great strength technique, great strength, and follows with Gubara. Zeke takes it and puts him down. His verdict, you trained well. Lika's comment on this is that it's a bit rich coming from the person who just knocked him over to demonstrate the value of training. She's not wrong. Meanwhile, West Hall training grounds. Bodies on the ground. Someone's saying it hurts. In the middle of it all, Venial Fafreld Eldragon, one of the other head candidates, sits back and calls every single one of his opponents useless. His right-hand man Alan stands nearby. The one person who earns Venial's approval is Letton. Alan reports that Lady Lika is confirmed to be participating on the East Hall team. Venial dismisses it. Doesn't matter how good she is, the West Hall wins. Opens on a massive arena packed with students from every hall. Lika notes that some kids already dropped out before the exams even started. Zeke is off to the side doing his thing, silently grading everyone's fighting strength in his head. The East Hall upperclassmen who got absolutely cooked last chapter have apparently done some soul searching, because they show up announcing they now genuinely respect strength. An observer scans the competition and notes that, as expected, East Hall has no 4 stars. However, there are several people with 1 foot in 3-star territory, which is apparently worth watching. A woman comes sprinting over yelling, "Lika!" and tackles her in a hug. This is Sandy Typhona, daughter of the Typhona family head and Lika's cousin. She is very enthusiastic. She also immediately looks at Zeke and the group and asks Lika who these children are. Sandy then proceeds to question whether they have what it takes to be companions of a next head candidate. Zeke stays quiet. Sandy clocks him, gets told he's also a candidate, and her response is essentially, "I didn't think a mere illegitimate child would still be surviving." Lika is visibly uncomfortable. Zeke doesn't react. Sandy keeps going, pointing out that none of East Hall's candidates are even 3 stars, calling their quality poor. Then Zeke very calmly says, "A mere illegitimate child with no blood purer than the head's blood. Are you actually giving me advice?" He calls it a warning. Sandy looks like she wants to respond, but before it escalates, a guy named Ebos Van Blade from North Hall steps in to tell everyone to stop causing trouble for other teams. Teach Mentrick lays out the rules. Tournament format, 4 halls, elimination brackets. Everyone's listening very carefully. Representatives step forward one by one. West Hall goes first, then North Hall. When North Hall's rep walks up, Zeke clocks him immediately. That's Venial Fafreld Eldragon, sitting in the crowd like a final boss who showed up early. Zeke notes it's not just Venial. Most of West Hall's fighters feel strong overall, but there's one guy specifically that keeps catching his attention. Someone he recognizes from the entrance exam, whose skill level has apparently gone way up since then. Then the crowd spots Randy standing with the East Hall group. Confusion spreads. Why is the dropout here? Randy's, for his part, says he's fine and tries to move on. East Hall is called next, and everyone assumes Lika will step forward. Instead, Zeke walks up. Sandy, watching from the other side, immediately starts loudly questioning why an illegitimate child is representing instead of Lika. Lika shuts it down. He's the strongest among them. Sandy does not accept this answer. Brackets get drawn. The marble draw puts East Hall versus North Hall in the first match, and West Hall versus South Hall in the second. Sandy turns to Lika and announces this is a good opportunity to wake her up. She's going to crush East Hall thoroughly so Lika remembers her position and purpose. Lika's response, "Bring it on." Our guy is standing there looking unbothered as usual, and someone in the East Hall corner is already convinced he's going to win easily. Fight 1 kicks off, and North Hall takes the first match. Match ends. East Hall loses the first one. Zeke's response to his teammate's apology is essentially, "This isn't a death battlefield. It's a place to test your strength. Lessons from losses here will help you on the real battlefield later." Then it's Randy's turn. Randy's has been anxious since morning. His opponent is a scary senior upperclassman. He is, in his own words, terrified. Randy's turns to Zeke for reassurance. And our guy's advice is, look at what weapon he's holding. It's a sword. You're fighting a person with a sword. If he thrusts, parry. Focus on the weapon, not the person. It's so simple it almost sounds dismissive. But then an observer watching quietly notes that Randy's is actually really impressive. He just needs a bit more distance to fully enter that natural state. The fight starts. Randy's opponent opens with triple leaf sword style, then closes in with twin fang branch. The crowd thinks there's no way this scrawny kid can match up. But Zeke just says, look at Randy's eyes. Randy's is more focused than he's ever been. He counters with triple leaf sword style. Then, before his opponent can recover, he switches styles entirely. Cloud water spear style, flowing clouds and water into raging current strike. Match end. East Hall wins the third match. Randy's collapses in relief. Then Zeke turns to the rest of the team, and with East Hall now back in contention, he says the 4 words that mean business is about to pick up. Let's start turning this around, shall we? East Hall just keeps going. 4th match, East Hall wins. 5th match, East Hall wins. 1 more and they take the whole thing. All that's left is the 6th match, Laika versus Sandy. The two of them face each other across the arena, both wielding lightning. Sandy opens by admitting she genuinely didn't think North Hall's elites would lose to kids who haven't even hit 3-star level yet. The fight starts. Sandy vanishes and closes the distance instantly, and the gap becomes obvious fast. Sandy is better, and she knows it. She even calls out a bad habit Laika has apparently had since her early training, the tendency to wildly swing her sword when cornered. She hits Laika with lightning flash into scatterbolt. The crowd watches in silence. Sandy stands over Laika and tells her to give up. She can't win at this level. She goes further, says if she'd known it would come to this, she would have petitioned their father from the start and dragged Laika to North Hall by force. Laika refuses to stay down. Sandy, running out of patience, says fine, and hits her with reflect, then follows up harder. The crowd starts asking if the match is over. Zeke watches quietly and says, looks like she's about to break through another shell. Laika, battered, pulls out lightning great sword arts. First secret technique. The attack lands, and then Sandy says, calmly, that should have been the finishing blow. But Laika is still standing too. She looks at Sandy and says, these past 5 years, I've been training too. This match isn't over, it's just getting started. Opens before the match, with a flashback to Laika and Zeke's conversation right before she stepped onto the field. She admits she was nervous. Sandy was the one who first taught her the basics of lightning great sword arts. Zeke tells her to remember their training, specifically, the 5 years they've spent together, the focus on reading opponents, on staying calm under pressure, on composure. He also points out something she apparently has not fully processed, that she's been the strongest in East Hall this whole time. She should not be worried about results. Then he adds, your sister taught you lightning great sword arts. This fight is the perfect opportunity. Observe her techniques closely. If you do that, you will become even stronger. Back in the present, that's exactly what's happening. Sandy opens with judgment. It fails. Sandy changes speed and charges. Laika adjusts. She's been absorbing Sandy's patterns the entire fight, and now she's starting to apply what she's seeing in real time. The observers piece it together. Laika learned her sister's lightning great sword arts during the match itself. It's the result of Zeke's training, and by studying the same sword style mid-battle, she's reached a new stage entirely. Sandy is not pleased. She calls it a marginal imitation and hits lightning flash, but she's being pushed back now. She admits internally that she's being overwhelmed. As for physical training, she's spent the past 5 years pushing herself toward a specific person. This is everything she has. Laika answers with lightning great sword arts. Grand thunder. Match over. Laika wins. Sandy, on the ground, laughs quietly and says, you've gotten stronger, but the matches aren't over. Someone else steps onto the field, and he's been wanting this fight for a while. He walks straight up to Zeke and says he's happy to get to fight him like this. Zeke asks who he even is. The guy explains, even though Zeke's only 2-star, he's still East Hall's representative instead of Laika. That alone made him want to fight him. Zeke clocks it immediately. As I thought, we get along. He confirms he's wanted to fight this guy too. The opponent laughs and mentions Zeke is apparently quite famous. Being called a genius of the century at his age tends to get around. Our guy glances down and notes, a katana. It's been a while. 7th match. Begin. The opponent opens with Thousand Blade style, covering an enormous distance in a single step. But Zeke reads it and dodges by twisting his body in the split second before impact. The opponent is genuinely surprised. He calls it an excellent strike anyway and asks to see more. Then here's Thousand Blade, Wave Blade. The opponent calls out raging waves to counter, but Zeke follows with Right Blade, Lightning Shimmer. The opponent is internally cataloging everything, ever-changing techniques without losing speed or power, source energy flowing without a single wasted movement, sharp attacks that read breathing and rhythm perfectly. All of it impossible without relentless training. He says out loud that he can't believe he still can't opponent catch Zeke, calls him amazing, and asks what kind of training he does. Zeke's answer, "Want to know? Train with me after this battle ends." Then the opponent tries varying his breathing patterns to throw off Zeke's read. It doesn't work. Zeke adapted to that too. The opponent acknowledges it. "You've figured out my techniques to some extent, haven't you?" and decides to stop holding back. He hits lingering shadow. Blood. Zeke is actually wounded. The opponent goes quiet for a moment, genuinely registering that he landed that. Then asks, "Shall I show you a bit more?" Zeke looks at the blood, looks back up, and smiles. To actually wound him. This is getting really fun now. Opens on the aftermath of the North Hall match. Sandy's team is checking on her. Her own members are apologizing for holding her back, and she shuts that down immediately. The opponent was just strong, that's all. She tells them to work hard so they don't lose next time. Her team responds with genuine energy. Then someone mentions the West Hall versus South Hall match is apparently still going. Sandy looks over, and what she sees stops her cold. 5 aura blades. Which means Ebos, the North Hall representative who interrupted the pre-match argument earlier, is fighting at full power. He's the strongest among them. Back in the arena, our guy and Ebos have been going for over an hour. My boy hits 1000 blade style. 5 shadow blade. Doesn't work. He's not even breathing hard. Ebos asks what kind of body he's running on. And Zeke just says, "Nothing special. I put a lot of effort into basic stamina training. Techniques are good, but fundamentals matter." Ebos immediately resolves to train his body more. Meanwhile, Zeke is quietly cataloging Ebos' sword, sharpness, hardness, generation speed and range, overall performance sitting around lower upper tier. Solid. But more importantly, through this battle he's confirmed something. The fundamental difference between martial arts 1,000 years ago and now. Ebos realizes all his attacks are being countered and says as much. Zeke confirms it. He's finished observing. Ebos acknowledges this was a wonderful experience, says he'll pay his respects, and presents what he's learned during the battle as a new technique on the spot. 1000 blade style secret technique. 5 blade ultimate strike. He knows he can't win, but he'll keep struggling. Zeke answers with Dragon Destruction Combat Arts, second form, modified fist star. The explosion is enormous. When the dust settles, Ebos can't move a single finger. He says, lying on the ground, that he still has so much more training to do. The official call is made. Winner East Hall. The crowd erupts. Ebos lost. That East Hall guy is something else. The arena needs repairs before the next match. Turns out the whole venue is built from a rare material called aetherite that restores itself when you infuse it with source power. Zeke watches the arena rebuild itself and calls it incredible. Randy's, standing next to him, asks if maybe he went a bit overboard. Zeke does not answer this question. The final is East Hall versus West Hall. The crowd is already buzzing. Something felt off about that match. It didn't look like there was a meaningful gap between the South Hall fighters and Venial, but it ended completely one-sided anyway. Zeke clocks it. The source power flow from Lila, one of South Hall's fighters, was abnormal during the match. Something was interfering with her from the outside. The referee didn't catch it. Zeke files this away. Back with the East Hall group, everyone is processing what they just watched. Venial is the next head candidate, so of course he's powerful, but the whole West Hall group looks strong too. Randy's quietly notes he lost in the last match and is still not even at Ebos' level. The rest of the team is undeterred. Just like stronger opponents beat them, there's no reason they can't do the same going upward. Laika, meanwhile, has stepped away to think. Zeke follows. She's sitting by a pond, visibly somewhere else mentally. After a pause, she admits something. She didn't think she'd gotten strong enough to overpower Lila like that. And yet Venial did it anyway, effortlessly. The last time they fought was when they were 5 years old. She lost then, and she's spent years training specifically to get revenge on him. She's always wanted to beat him. But now, if Zeke follows a certain order of opponents in the final, Venial will probably be the one to fight Zeke instead of her. She hates herself for even feeling relieved at that thought. Before she can sit with it any longer, Venial himself appears. He immediately opens with the suggestion that if he becomes head, she might end up as his wife. Laika tells him to shut up. She's going to be the head. He says she knew she couldn't win against him, saw the match, and became sure of it. Isn't that right? She doesn't answer. Venial tells her to just give up and submit to him. He'll treat her well. She tells him to shut up again. He shrugs, says she really has no cute qualities, and leaves with his people, not before one of them mentions that illegitimate kid who beat Ebos. Venial's crew starts discussing how to handle Zeke before the match. They consider approaching him directly, but note he seems sharp and might notice. Someone suggests they can set things up during the match itself instead. Venial, completely unbothered, says he's not going to lose to some kid without tricks anyway. But in this match, sure, enter the crime regardless. So we open on what looks like some kind of inter-hall tournament, and our guy is standing there watching the upperclassmen, noting that East Hall has apparently never beaten West Hall, ever. Then someone asks Riku why he's even fighting if he's just going to lose. If you're going to fight, fight to win. That's what matters. His teammate gets a little pep talk, learns the great power fist style on the spot basically, and suddenly feels like he can win. Our boy tells him to relax his shoulders. Solid coaching, 5 stars. Then we get the actual first match, East Hall versus West Hall. The West Hall guy walks out looking absolutely menacing. He immediately starts trash talking about how East Hall is full of punks. The fight begins and it gets genuinely intense. Mantis slash swarming locust devour. The whole bug-themed attack catalog comes flying out. West Hall dude is fast, slippery, and clearly has been doing this longer than 3 weeks. East Hall's guy is getting worked. Then he remembers what our MC told him. Relax, gather your strength into one point. Eats a stinging bee flash to the face, and somehow wins. The kid is screaming YSSS like he just won the World Cup. West Hall guy is on the ground having an existential crisis. Meanwhile, someone in West Hall gives a quiet order to crush him for the next match. Second match starts immediately. West Hall sends out a red flame sword style user who opens with a spark slash before the other guy can even breathe. Our East Hall fighter responds with great wild spear style, and then eats a rampaging pierce that puts him on the ground hard. West Hall is just dismantling people. The East Hall kid on the ground is saying he can't take much more. Match over. Winner, West Hall. Her teammates rush over. Our MC watches from a distance looking like he's doing internal calculations. We pick up right where we left off. Marin is down, the crowd is tense, and West Hall is standing around looking smug about it. Their guy straight up says the fighter who hurt her was just following orders, and when East Hall pushes back, West Hall's response is essentially, the referee didn't stop it, so it's fine. And then Randy steps forward. He looks at Letton and says flat out, today, right here, I'm going to surpass you. Letton goes, what? Reasonable reaction, honestly. The match starts and Randy's opens with cloud water spear style, water pierce. West Hall's guy hits back with serpent strike sword style, and immediately starts trash talking, calling him a weakling, telling him to go back to the village. Real charming individual. But here's the thing, Randy's blocks it. A curved, redirecting block. The West Hall guy is genuinely confused. His entire game plan was, be faster and meaner, so West Hall switches to trying to read Randy's movements and counter everything. Then RMC, watching from the sidelines, had apparently given Randy's one piece of advice before the match. Not a technique breakdown, not a combo, just a saying, clouds drift freely, water flows gently. But then we get the flashback. Young Randy's fishing with his dad, who used to stare at clouds and rivers all day. Kid thought his dad was just relaxing. Turns out the man was basically meditating on the nature of flow and freedom. Randy's grew up thinking human worries were small against something like that. And now, in the middle of getting called a fake and a fraud by this West Hall guy, who is screaming that Randy's will end up just like his fallen friend, something clicks. Clouds drift freely, water flows gently. Randy's just becomes that. His whole body language shifts, and he unleashes something that sends the West Hall guy flying. And here's where things get interesting. Our guy's narration kicks in, and he starts breaking down what Randy's is actually doing. Clouds drift freely, water flows gently. No matter what hits it, water doesn't stop. It softens, absorbs, changes shape, and keeps going. Randy's has quietly touched the essence of his style mid-fight, and he did it completely on his own in real combat. Letton, unfortunately, has not gotten the memo. He screams at Randy's to stay back and starts throwing everything he has, aggressive, panicked. Letton gets absolutely wrecked. One final scream and he's down. Match over. Winner, East Hall. Randy's just stands there for a second, genuinely stunned. I actually won? My boy beat Letton. The crowd goes nuts. Lady Lockeye is calling it amazing. Then someone asks Randy's what that final move was. Randy's Rising Dragon Pierce, one of the techniques from the second volume of Cloud Water Spear Style, a book he only had access to once. Everyone's impressed. Our MC is standing there like he can't exactly say, yeah, I basically wrote that style in a past life, so, which is the internal reveal. This martial art is something he created himself long ago. He never wrote it down, so later generations split it into separate volumes. These students have been studying fragments of something he made, and they've been unlocking its essence without knowing the full picture. He finds the whole thing quietly wonderful. East Hall rides the momentum. They win their next matches too, and the scoreboard starts tilting their way. West Hall is rattled. Then we get to the fourth match, and the last one up is Laika. Laika looks at him like, what is it? A little caught off guard. He asks how she's feeling. She says same as always. She steps into the arena. Our MC watches, and something shifts in his read on her. There's a strange feeling. Her opponent is a West Hall fighter who opens with exactly the energy you'd expect from someone who thinks they've already won. Match begins. Laika is fast. Genuinely fast. The opponent immediately recognizes what he's dealing with. Lightning aura. Then something shifts. Laika takes a hit. Not from being outplayed. Her lightning aura just cuts out mid-fight. The crowd reacts. RMC's expression goes flat. The opponent reads it immediately. Her source power isn't functioning, and he does not ease up. He presses the advantage hard, talks down to her. You can't beat me without your aura. Laika is eating attacks. No source power, no aura. Then the opponent's sword comes down in a move that stops looking like tournament combat and starts looking like something else. Our guy moves. He jumps into the arena and intercepts. Just steps right in between Laika and the blade. Randy's looks horrified. The opponent steps back and plays innocent, as if I would do such a thing, but RMC isn't buying it for a second. From where he was standing, that strike was aimed to kill. Now the green-haired West Hall fighter who's been watching the whole time steps forward and gets in RMC's face. You interrupted a sanctioned match. The opponent keeps performing innocence. Our guy doesn't raise his voice. He just lays it out plainly. Laika can't use her source power right now. Anyone watching could see that. The official ruling comes down fast. West Hall wins the match. RMC's interference forfeited it. Simple as that. He apologizes, takes the loss cleanly. Then the next match is announced. RMC steps into the arena. The West Hall fighter across from him opens with the kind of confidence that comes from genuinely believing he's already won. Match begins. And then, boom! Bro came like a flash and fucked up his mouth. Mid-exchange, he just says it. For someone who talks so much about real combat, you sure leave yourself wide open. Our guy hits him once, twice. The fighter is processing. I countered as fast as I possibly could and he's already past me. Third hit lands. RMC stops, tilts his head. How does real combat taste? Then, RMC walks him through it. 3 hits so far. First was the neck. Second was the head. Third was the heart. You'd already be dead 3 times. The only reason you're still standing is because this is a tournament. So when you talk about real combat, aren't you the one running away from it? The guy doesn't have an answer for that. And this is where it shifts from a fight into something more like a lesson. He acknowledges that everyone in West Hall will probably become excellent warriors. But this isn't real combat. There's instructor supervision, recovery potions, safety nets. Calling it real combat is just dressing up a controlled environment in dangerous language. The guy snaps completely. Windrending fan, storm blade, full technique chain. The crowd reacts. RMC just watches the aura expand and says, "Why isn't any of this landing?" Then answers himself, "It's fine, I just followed the flow." He's reading every attack before it arrives. The guy is burning everything he has and none of it is connecting. Our guy steps aside, hits him again. The fighter is done physically, body at its limit, but still standing, still threatening to kill if RMC keeps walking around like he owns the place. RMC calls it admirable in a warrior, genuinely, then tells him to give it up because there's nothing left in the tank. The guy makes one last call. He releases everything at once. Full aura burst, screaming. What looked like a massive power spike. Our guy already finessed it. "You're already pinned." "What was that?" Gale bullet. One clean shot. Match over. The crowd is stunned. Opens with RMC asking one simple question. Why? The answer is poison. Specifically, a poison that only activates when source power is stirred up. RMC figures this out, then gets smug about it. With that poison sealing your source power, you've still got nothing. Something like that is meaningless against someone with a properly trained body. Ziki pushes back. "You're saying my true killing poison is meaningless?" RMC just nods. "It's genuinely impressive, groundbreaking poison work, but it doesn't work on me." He detoxed himself mid-fight. The crowd can't believe it. Ziki can't believe it. RMC shrugs. "It was an interesting poison, but in the end it all comes down to your own strength." We get the flashback. Young Ziki, ordinary in a house where ordinary means worthless. His mother telling him he has no reason to exist if he can't become the head. His older siblings talented, capable, every single day being measured against people he couldn't match. And in those endless days, he found one thing, poison. That was his talent. With poison, he could fight. Back in the present, all that pain just pours out of him. He's screaming, "What do you know about me? I get compared to geniuses every single day. No matter how hard I work, in front of their talent I'm nothing. And still I have to struggle and claw my way up. And you, someone who knows nothing, you dare judge me?" He goes all in. Deadly smoke, all his poison reserves, even forcing himself to inhale some of it. A cloud that would poison anyone who breathes it in. RMC takes the hit. Ziki hits the ground. Ziki stares up. What is this guy? RMC tells him to listen. "You've got one big misunderstanding. To grow strong, you don't need talent for martial arts. You don't need special talent for source power. All you need is, I want to win. That thirst, that's the road that leads to real strength." And from what you've been showing me this whole fight, you have it. Then he looks at Zeki's weapon and quietly points out he's been using the wrong one. His poison style, the way he moves, the range he needs. It suits something with a longer handle, like an umbrella, for example. Long history, adaptable, can be turned into a weapon. For me, most things in this world can become a weapon. Something that suits you. Zeki stares at him. Me? RMC nods. On the battlefield, you'd be more of a warrior than anyone. In a real fight, as long as you win, anything goes. If you cling too hard to warrior's pride, you won't be able to use every tool. Your thinking isn't wrong. What's wrong is what you're using it to protect. Then he extends a hand. Come to me. Zeki, huh? RMC. If you do, I'll make you as strong as you could ever want. You're stronger than you think. Don't worry. Once I'm done with you, you won't have time to worry about talent or any of that nonsense. Zeki just stares at him. This guy sure talks a good game. Then RMC remembers. Oh right, we're still in the middle of a match. He turns around and very casually knocks Zeki out with one hit. When you wake up, come find me, alright? Zeki hits the ground. Match over. The announcer calls it, champions, East Hall. This concludes the selection matches. East Hall erupts. Everyone's celebrating. Everyone's together. The arc is done. Opens at the victory dinner. East Hall won. Everyone's sitting around a proper meal. And Laka is already asking the obvious question. We're the ones who won, right? So why did they call all of us here? Then the officer running the whole thing stands up and starts explaining. A few days ago, a special rift was discovered inside the Eldragon family's domain. Not a normal rift, something that appeared right on the border of their territory, and whatever's inside it, they need soldiers with a minimum 3-star level or lower to enter. Anyone higher gets forcibly pushed out. So the mission, send a strike team into the rift, clear it, and retrieve the magic water inside. Failure is not optional. RMC is processing this magic water. By condensing it, you get the ability to convert source power into magic power, meaning you can follow someone who uses magic. As for who goes, East Hall won the selection matches, but that doesn't automatically mean all 7 of them are on the strike team. The officer gives team selection authority to one person, through a certain someone's full potential during the matches. And with that, Zeeb, he chooses RMC to pick the squad. RMC, what, me? If you let me pick, he says, I'll just make myself the manager of the team, and make Licker the captain. There's actual logic to it. He needs to train his own people without sending them into danger. He's not really interested in becoming head anyway. There's only one thing he wants, the end of the martial path. That's all. Zeeb stares at him, then looks away. Laka, she picks her team. We don't see the names yet. The chapter cuts away. Meanwhile, in a dark room somewhere else, 2 men in black are getting a report. The rift is confirmed real. A special one that's already attracted attention. The lizards, whatever faction that refers to, have already started moving, and the ones they sent were captured. Now there's a new problem. There's a rare magic material inside. The men in black start calculating. 7 entrance max, all 3-star level or below. Not a difficult condition on paper, but the lizards going in means the dungeon-type routes won't be straightforward. No proper troops, just kids on a special rift operation, and that lizard faction will probably be there ahead of them. One of them asks, how many deception bracelets do we have left? 4. Here's the order. Use all of them. Every last one. We cut to a training ground where our lil bro already gathered the crew. Raymond gets the fun assignment, regeneration stones. The ones that reflect incoming force back at you multiplied. You can't break them without source power. Our guy breaks one barehanded. The whole team stares. He explains the point. He's not training them to hit hard. He's training them to take a hit and redirect it. Either eat the shock head on or learn to deflect it clean. Celine is next. She gets the sword drill, thrust at the regeneration stone, source power allowed, but focus everything into one single point every single time. Her windflower style throws a lot of strikes, which is fine, but she needs to learn to value each blow. Then there's Randy's. RMC hands him a feather. Randy's is baffled. Then the wind around RMC picks up and Randy's recognizes it. That's Lord Venial's wind aura. RMC casually mentions he picked it up during that fight and figured out how to use it too. Randy's looks like he's having a crisis. The lesson for Randy's, a feather is too light to force. You can't control it through strength. The training is about surrendering to the flow, not following it, not chasing it, just letting yourself go with it completely. If he can do that, he won't just ride the flow. He'll be able to create it himself. Cut to Laika and Zeke watching from the side. Laika's buzzing with energy, calls it the best team. Back at headquarters, the instructor gets news that the Kerberos faction has already caught wind of the special rift. The concern on the table, what happens after the rift is cleared? The Mutts might show up to take the spoils. If the strike team and the perimeter soldiers can link up in time, they'll be fine, but that's an if. Then the conversation shifts to Zeke. Red-haired, high-ranked, says he's watched all of Lord Balls' children, and Zeke is the first whose limits he genuinely can measure. Still technically a 2-star, but star count stopped meaning much the moment he saw Zeke move. The feeling he got watching Zeke's technique was the same one he felt the first time he saw Lord Balz's Dragon Destruction combat arts, the family's most secret style. His read, Zeke's martial arts aren't just on par with Balz's Dragon Destruction style, they might surpass it. The other man tells him he's imagining things. Final beat. A few years ago, they dug into Zeke's background, birth records, everything. Found nothing. No trace of formal training before he entered the dragon's nest. Every technique he uses, he figured it out himself, which means only one explanation makes any sense. He's the reincarnation of the first patriarch. The senior brass wraps up their conversation with a quiet verdict. If Zeke really is who they think he is, the Kerberos faction isn't even worth factoring in. 1 week later, the strike team arrives at the special domain. A red-haired woman in uniform is already there. She introduces herself as the vice captain of the Dragon Corps. She's there to hold the perimeter while the team goes in. She fills in the context. The rift only lets in fighters 3-star or below. Nobody else can enter until the team either clears it or gets wiped out. The dark trees around the area carry the same energy as the rift RMC fought before. The reason the perimeter guard exists at all, the Kerberos family wants to keep the Eldragon family's power in check. If the team clears the rift and retrieves the magic water, Eldragon's military standing goes up. Kerberos doesn't want that. Before they go in, our guy pulls Randy's aside and hands him a staff. Randy stares at it like he's been handed a live animal. He has never touched a staff in his life. The argument that follows is extremely dignified and goes, "Do it." "No, do it." "I said no, and I said do it." He picks up the staff, mutters something unpleasant, and tries it. The last strike lands clean. Randy's grudgingly admits it felt good. RMC grins and says he always does what he says he'll do. New faces in the Rift team, Lila and a girl named Sandy, who seems to be Venial's attendant and immediately starts throwing shade at the lineup. Sandy's convinced this team is a liability. Laika tells her to relax. RMC informs the group that they'll need to work together. RMC observes the group quietly. The selection match grudges are still very much alive. Nobody fully trusts anyone yet. He acknowledges to himself this is a genuinely risky situation, but figures that if they can get through it together, they'll come out the other side as something that actually works. Then Laika spots it, the rift. It really does look like a crack torn open in space itself. RMC cracks his knuckles. Stay sharp. Then, let's go. The team steps into the rift and immediately gets launched into freefall. Nobody lands clean. Someone reaches for a healing potion. The team regroups. Then the question hits, where's Zeke? Nobody saw him land. The group starts worrying. Leave that guy alone. If it's Zeke, he's more likely to be the problem for whatever finds him than the other way around. Sandy is furious that he's so unbothered. Venial quietly agrees with the read. RMC lands separately from the group, dropped straight into what looks like a monster nest, surrounded by little round fluffy creatures that are very much not threatening. Less ideal. There's a massive dark entity looming nearby that absolutely is. RMC clocks the situation. The big monster is 3-star level minimum, radiating a nasty aura. The monster moves. RMC steps forward. He lends a hand, just a little, he says, then proceeds to go absolutely feral on the thing. And when the dust settles, the monster retreats. The chick wobbles over. Still hungry. RMC looks at it, sighs, and announces they're going hunting. Final page cuts to a different location entirely. The hat and coat villain from the shadow scenes in earlier chapters steps through. He's inside the special domain now. Last line. Let's start the lizard hunt. 1 week later. The team is deep in the mixed realm. Bugs everywhere. Laika screaming. Sandy complaining about her weapon. Laika drops lightning greatsword arts, thunder net annihilation, and clears a path. Everyone's alive. Nobody's happy about it. The airflow points toward the exit. The team pushes through the forest, and they burst out into open air. New area, rocky, open, and right there in the distance, the pillar of light they spotted while falling. Randy's confirms it, and someone makes the obvious point, that light is coming from the Chaos Stone. Flashback fills in what RMC already knew from the pre-mission briefing. The Chaos Stone is the true primary of the rift, not just a component. It pumps a massive amount of energy into the local ecosystem, corrupts creatures, and gives them one instinct, slaughter. Left unchecked, those creatures eventually start invading neighboring worlds. The magic water forms around Chaos Stones, which is why destroying it closes the rift, and gets them what they came for. Back to the present, the team heads toward the Chaos Stone. Laika wonders if Zeke has spotted it yet. Nobody knows. Then, Zeke drops in from above, slamming monsters into the ground on arrival. Long time no see. Laika is relieved. Sandy side-eyes him. They reach the Chaos Stone. It's huge, pulsing with a vile aura, and there are no monsters in sight. Zeke cleared them all on the way in. RMC confirms it's the real thing. He figured it might be what they were looking for, so he waited for the team here. There's also water. Magic water. The team starts collecting. RMC picks up a vial and studies the color. Magic water color indicates attribute type. This one's clear, which is one kind. A beam of light slams into the group from outside. Laika and RMC dodge. The voice that follows is the hat and coat man. Cool, amused, slightly impressed they dodged. Little lizards. RMC turns around, grinning. Took you long enough to show yourselves. Laika asks who they are. Someone in the team murmurs Kerberos family. He just notes that only fighters 3-star or under can enter this rift. So how exactly did his group get in? Deception bracelets, where one and you can fool the rift's entry restriction entirely. Single use, extremely rare, sourced through Kerberos's private channels. That's how they bypass the barrier. Laika mutters that blurting all that out was stupid. Hatman shrugs. Doesn't matter, because everyone present is about to die. He moves first. Rock cannon, a massive projectile straight at the group. Zeke takes the hit to shield the others. Laika screams his name. The Hatman switches to rock bullets. Rapid fire, smaller, relentless. Laika pushes forward to meet them head on. Then the chaos. More enemies close in from the sides and the group gets split. RMC ends up facing the Hatman one-on-one. He takes stock. The 3 grunts are 4-star. Already a wall between ordinary fighters and the genuinely gifted. A normal person maxes out at 3-star without innate talent. 4-star is a different category entirely, and the leader is 5-star. Laika does the math out loud. Even if they beat the grunts, the Hatman alone ends this. The Hatman summons something. A massive creature materializes behind him. 3-star, dark and wrong. The team reacts, and RMC hits him, point blank. No wind up, no technique announced. Hatman touches his face. RMC grins and throws another rock. Hatman, is this just about throwing rocks? RMC, I can play that game. Then he flicks this little pocket watch gadget and casually summons a full-blown wolf monster wrapped in purple energy. Our guy's response? Pure delight. Oh, so there's magic that summons monsters now? Hat guy is not amused, calls the attitude nonsensical, asks if he even realizes how outmatched he is, and RMC actually agrees, sort of. A swarm of birds comes screaming out of nowhere and tears straight into his side of the fight. Those birds are our guy's disciples. Yeah, while the rest of the squad was off doing whatever they were doing, my boy apparently adopted a flock of native rift creatures and ran them through boot camp. He's casually checking in with the biggest one like a proud sensei. You've come back at just the right time. We even get a flashback of him drilling these birds like a drill sergeant. Your running's slowing down. Pick up the pace. You need to take a hit too. Anyway, then he turns the disciples loose on the wolf pack like it's the most natural escalation in the world. And suddenly it's birds versus wolves, chaos everywhere. The blonde girl gets so worried watching our guy fight that she nearly loses track of her own opponent, and Venial shuts that down fast. You can't beat these guys if you're worrying about him the whole time. Worry about yourself first. She apologizes, locks back in, and the 3 of them, Venial, the blonde, and their Wind Umbrella teammate, recommit to taking the Hat Man down themselves. Hat guy tries to bait Venial with, "Your friend's going to die if you don't hurry." Venial doesn't bite. Then the real combo lands. A gale pierce from range, followed immediately by a lightning flash up close, and it connects clean. Hat guy takes the hit dead on, and barely flinches. Wind strikes from afar, lightning strikes up close. "You really are the heads brats," he says, sounding more annoyed than hurt. Picking up right where things left off, our guys locked in with the enchanted sword creep, and every clash chips away at somebody's blade. Lila answers back with her wave echo staff arts, spinning out a rolling wave that almost catches the guy off guard. Almost, because he calmly drops an earth bind on her midspin and locks her in place like it's nothing. Then comes the real problem. This man isn't just swinging a sword, he's pumping it full of magic every time he attacks, and my boy can't feel any of that power directly in his aura, which means it's all coming from enchantment, not raw strength. Lila checks in mid-fight. "Edgy Eyes, you okay?" And he's honest about it. "Fine for now." And then the actual turning point hits. Our guy clocks something nobody else caught. Every time the enemy casts his spell, The sword reverts to a totally normal blade for a split second. Translation: he can't run his sword arts and his magic at the same time. There's a gap, and that's exactly where our guy decides to put his next hit. The enemy, predictably, doesn't take this development well. He sneers, calls it big talk for a 3-star, throws out a full commitment attack screaming, "Disappear!" and gets cut off mid-sentence when our MC reads the gap perfectly and answers with his own 1000 blade style secret art, the 5-edge ultimate blade. Clean hit. No time to react, no second chance. The guy goes down choking on his own disbelief. And no way, I'm 4-star. Taken down by a 3-star? And that's the fight. Lila rushes over, our guy's banged up but standing, and the two of them have themselves a nice little moment crediting each other for the win, before he immediately pivots to checking on everyone else. Cut to the other fight, where Alan and his lightning sword partner are still going at it with the wolf summoning hat guy from last chapter, and these two cannot stop sniping at each other even mid-combat. "You're the one interfering so my attacks don't land. What nonsense are you spouting? I'm the one covering for you every time you lose focus." Meanwhile, the enemy's just standing there watching two teenagers argue about whose fault the missed hits are, visibly enjoying it. He calls them out for it directly too, pointing out how close they clearly are, which only makes them bicker harder. Eventually he gets fed up with playing referee and goes for the kill, mocking their half-baked teamwork and telling them to choke on their own helplessness. Alan locks the guy down with a wind-rending fan arts gale bullet, loaded with extra wind aura specifically to pin him in place. And the second it's holding, she drops a full lightning flash straight through him. The guy doesn't even get a last line in, he just screams and drops. And then, because this manhwa knows exactly what it's doing, the actual ending beat is these two immediately going back to arguing, except now it's about whether the kill was properly finished. She's mad he didn't follow all the way through to a clean kill, demanding he stab properly. And he fires right back that her hit only landed because he set it up in the first place. Two people who just won a 4-star fight, currently fighting harder about credit than they did about the actual enemy. It's the most functional dysfunctional duo on this battlefield. Cut to Lika and Poison Guy, and right away we have two fights running parallel across the battlefield. On one side, Venial and the golden-haired girl are going head-to-head with their hat guy. Venial flows into Phantom Wind Umbrella style, and then Hurricane descending dust without pausing. Hat guy watches the whole sequence, almost impressed with himself. "How tricky," he mutters, before answering back with Thunderclap Greatsword style, first form. Lightning tears across the field. Hat guy takes the hit but recovers fast, and the two sides keep trading blows at a brutal pace, steel and wind and earth clashing until the ground is cracked open under their feet. Hat guy pauses mid-fight. "You actually noticed that," he says, and there is something like genuine respect in his voice. Venial catches his breath and responds calmly, "I still have a lot to learn." Venial's already recalculating internally. This guy is insanely rational, he thinks. He has been reading my techniques and adapting on the fly the entire time. My martial arts were never built for raw offense. They were built to outlast, to neutralize, to endure. Lika says, "If we keep going at this rate," she warns, "there may be nothing left to work with." Venial already knows. The girl does not waste time second-guessing it. "Whatever this is," she says, "I will handle my part. But if you cannot trust me, I trust you, Venial." Just like that. Clean and simple. Venial grins and tells her to hit Hat Guy with her fastest technique right now, no hesitation. She obliges. Rock Needle fires. Hurricane descending dust erupts. Hat Guy tries to read the combination, starts to counter, and then something shifts. "Gale?" he breathes. Before he can finish the thought, Phantom Wind Umbrella style and Thunderclap Greatsword collide with him at the same moment, and lightning flash detonates across the whole field. Hat Guy staggers. The fight on this side is effectively over. Now we cut to our guy Zeke, and his Hat Guy has a completely different energy. Earth Rend destruction tears the ground open and Zeke eats the full force of it, but our guy just staggers and laughs louder than before. He is loving every second of this. "Show me more," he screams, completely unhinged. And Hat Guy is starting to look genuinely unsettled. Then a massive creature shrieks from overhead, and Hat Guy shifts his thinking for just a moment. He would have liked to wrap this up cleanly, he admits to himself. Never expected a 3-man team of this caliber would be needed just to deal with one lizard. But he doubles down. "Even if it costs me my life," he declares, "I will fulfill the mission." He winds up for something decisive. "Watch your step," Hat Guy warns. He recalibrates fast. Hat Guy is not running on pure magic. It is something else, a mana combustion technique, the kind only a magic swordsman can use. The chaos stones floating there glowing like a bad omen. and everyone's realizing at the same time that they're stuck between a rock and a very hard place. Literally can't destroy the thing without the rift closing and trapping them inside with it. Blondie's panicking, the staff-wielding guys yelling to hurry up, and their swordsman's admitting he can't even get close. Meanwhile, the actual threat, some smug bastard who's basically already written their obituaries, casually tells them it's too late. This is where they all die. So the squad throws everything they've got at the stone. 5 different secret arts unleash at once: Thousand Blade Zenith, Heavenly Resonance, Phantom Wind, Hurricane Fan Strikes, a lightning greatsword flash, full anime light show, everyone screaming, and it does nothing. The enemy just laughs it off, because apparently this rock's been juiced with enough mana to hit 7-star tier, and no amount of 3 stars ganging up is cracking that. Enter our guy. Zeke shows up mid-crisis like he wasn't already there, and immediately clocks that brute aura alone won't cut it. This needs a direct hit. So naturally, he just punches it, repeatedly, screaming the whole time like he's summoning the attack out of pure volume. The villain's laughing at first, bragging that even his own fists would shatter against this thing, but then Zeke goes, however, and unloads a second hit, then a third, stacking, World Breaker, with his right and something else with his left, before smashing them together into the actual name technique, Dragon Slaying Combat Arts, World Detonation, second form, capping it off with World Annihilation. The stone shatters, debris starts raining down, and now it's a scramble to protect the fragments. While that's happening, the mage guy is handling a separate crisis. He whips up a wind vortex to catch things, snaps at his teammates to deal with the rest. One of them, sword drawn, cleans up the last standing enemy's solo with a flashy one-sword technique, cracks a joke about his blade literally snapping mid-victory. Guess I still have a long way to go. Then turns his attention to the real problem, the assassin behind all of it, revealed to be the guy from earlier, now the only one left standing. Cornered, the assassin doesn't flinch, says he'll simply carry out his mission to the end, gets cut down mid-declaration, and even coughs out something like admiration before going down for good. Zeke, naturally, thinks the whole thing was magnificent. Dude fought him to his last breath, and Zeke respects that more than he probably should. Turns out this fight bumped Zeke up from 2-star to 3-star, and the team's reaction is a mix of awe and exhaustion, pointing out that beating a 5-star like that basically confirms the monster label people already slap on him. Zeke, offended, insists he's not that bad, then immediately goes to pet the fluffy chick-like creatures that apparently tanked crowd control duty all fight, thanking them for handling the small fry so the squad could focus on the real threat. Then comes the loot, an ID tag off the dead assassin, named Jack Rock, and Blondie recognizes it. Elite of the Kerberos family, known as the Hound, because apparently this guy was way more of a big deal than the fight led on. The group debates why an assassin would even carry something that outs his identity. Conclusion: he just never planned on losing. Turns out the enemy stacked a 4-star and a 5-star specifically to wipe this team out completely, wildly underestimating what they were actually capable of. Credit mostly goes to Zeke, though the team notes he's less master tactician and more guy who solves everything by hitting it as hard as possible. Someone jokes the complicated talk's finally over, only for it to turn out there's still unfinished business. They're not heading home yet. Turns out there's magic water to drink, tied to the dragon slaying combat arts itself, an ultra-difficult martial art passed down through the L Dragon family's patriarch line, historically mastered fully by only 2 people ever, later simplified into 4 forms plus a special and final form so future generations could actually learn it. The magic water's just sitting there in bottles, and everyone's staring at it like it's radioactive, because the actual argument's already started. Does the mission require handing it straight over to the Eldragon family, or does it belong to the people who bled for it? Someone points out the obvious. They came here because of the mission, sure, but they were the ones who fought and struggled to actually get it. Handing it over just because that's the mission doesn't sit right. The more cautious members push back hard. This water's precious to the whole family, and drinking it without permission risks the family head's wrath. Worst case, execution. But our guy isn't having it. His logic's blunt. If the family head wanted this water so badly, he should have come get it himself. He didn't, because he couldn't break through the special zone, meaning he wasn't strong enough to earn it. If he can't do that, then this was never his to claim in the first place. Besides, the mission was just to recover the water. Nobody said they couldn't drink it first and recover it that way. That twisted logic cracks the group wide open. One by one they start caving, first out of curiosity about what magic even feels feels like. Then out of real ambition, the girl determined to become family head declares she needs magical power to get there and drinks. Her rival, not about to be outdone, drinks right after just to spite her. Then the dominoes fall. I'll master magic and surpass my brothers. I'll join too. One by one they down the water and light explodes around them, magic surging into their bodies for the first time. Someone asking if she feels any different, insisting she doesn't, but everyone else can immediately tell she's changed on some deeper level, even if it's not obvious to her yet. Then someone realizes the guy who talked them all into this never drank his own bottle. He waves it off, don't worry about me, and instead casually demonstrates by firing off a rock cannon, some improvised magic attack that leaves the group stunned. The kicker, he never drank the water at all. He's been using magic without it, and he doesn't even fully understand how himself. Turns out after getting hit by enough spells over time, his body naturally absorbed and reverse engineered the flow of magic power, letting his own aura passively convert into usable magic just by copying what hit him. Everyone's reaction lands somewhere between horrified and impressed. What a monster! With one spare bottle left over, they decide that alone counts as fulfilling the mission's recovery requirement, so they should be in the clear. Relief lasts about 10 seconds before the next problem surfaces. Closing the rift means destroying the Chaos Stone, but the time it takes for a rift to fully seal depends on its size, and this one's going to take anywhere from 3 days to a full week to close after the stone's destroyed. Awkward timing, to say the least. It gets worse, getting back through however long that closure takes, especially if they run into more chaos monsters on the way like they did getting in, could easily eat up more than a week on its own. Even if they somehow make it back to the rift's exit in time, there's still the problem of how they're supposed to climb back up to it in the first place. Panic sets in. Are they actually trapped down here? That's when one of the fluffy bird creatures they've been babysitting the whole arc chirps up, clearly trying to tell them something. Confusion turns to understanding, turns to full send. The group hops on the birds' backs, and the last shot is pure chaos. Everyone's screaming as they go rocketing skyward. They're airborne, sprinting flat out on the backs of these giant fluffy chicks, moving so fast even the chaos monsters chasing them can't keep pace. Blondie's yelling because the wind's insane, and gets told, politely, to keep it down a little. She snaps back that she can't help it. This is way faster than she expected. Meanwhile, our guys up front watching the terrain blur past, quietly noting that if they keep this pace up, they'll actually make it in time. Apparently Zeke, in the middle of everything else going on, found time to train monsters inside the rift and repurpose them as an escape plan. Nobody's shocked anymore, so much as exhausted by how normal this is starting to feel for him. Someone admits the chicks are ridiculously fluffy and cute, gets agreed with, and then the tone shifts a bit more serious. The whole team acknowledges that this entire mission got salvaged specifically because of him. He shattered a 5-star magic beast, defeated an insanely hard chaos stone in a single hit, and then, almost as an afterthought, engineered their ride home. One of them, the nominal team leader, admits she was leader in name only. Someone cuts that self-deprecation off immediately. Not true. If Laika hadn't been there, this team wouldn't have held together the way it did. There's a quieter moment where the girl, clearly wrestling with her own inadequacy compared to Zeke's absurdity, gets thanked properly, and she resolves out loud that she needs to get strong enough to actually lead people the way a matriarch should, vowing that one day she will become the matriarch, dramatic silhouette and all. Zeke, watching this happen, just laughs and needles her a little. You've gotten a lot tougher compared to when you used to cry and cling to me, which she takes about as well as you'd expect, still fired up by her own training progress. Then the chicks themselves get a spotlight. One of them starts glowing faintly, as green light starts wrapping around the birds mid-flight. Someone flat out asks what's going on and what this even is, and Zeke, hilariously, admits he genuinely doesn't know either. He's just along for the ride like everyone else. Whatever's happening, it doesn't slow them down. If anything, the birds start accelerating even harder, blowing straight through the sky with everyone screaming behind them. Then the rift comes into view, and it's bad news. The gap they need to escape through is visibly narrowing, way faster than anyone expected, practically sealing shut in real time. Zeke, of course, just states with total confidence, "We will make it." Right. What follows is an all-out sprint through the sky, the chicks pushing themselves past their limits, everyone questioning whether they're accelerating even further. Wind howling around them as light from the collapsing rift explodes outward. It's chaotic and disorienting, bodies flung around mid-flight, someone screaming incoherently the whole way through, and then, in a burst of rainbow light, they're through, before crash landing hard into actual solid earth. Someone groans in pain immediately after impact, and there's a beat of disoriented silence before anyone asks the obvious question, did we actually make it back? They did. Standing up, the group confirms they've returned safely, but something's off. The oppressive, gloomy atmosphere that had surrounded the rift's entrance before they went in is still lingering here. Except it isn't the same thing. The black mist that had been swirling around the entrance zone before is gone now. The presence of chaos energy has completely vanished, which should be good news, except the mission clearly isn't over, and the team's told they need to move quickly from here, because the Kerber's family is closing in. That single sentence lands like a gut punch, as the danger becomes immediate and real. Not chaos monsters this time, but actual hostile soldiers hunting them down. It's confirmed almost instantly. Soldiers from the Kerber's family, here for blood. Panic breaks out, someone shouting for everyone to move and evacuate completely, but their bodies betray them. Recovery potions have healed the wounds, but nobody's stamina has actually returned. One of them admits, pathetically, that she's still feeling dizzy. Someone points out grimly that these enemies aren't opponents their current, exhausted selves can handle, but if they can just make it back to El Dragon territory, their instructor and reinforcements would be waiting. Except in their current condition, even that feels impossible. Zeke steps in and lays out the blunt truth. Even if they stand and fight here, it'll only end in death. Someone demands to know what they're supposed to do then, cursing the timing. Why now, of all times? Zeke goes quiet, sizing up the incoming threat. A 6-star commander, several 5-stars, and an equal number of monsters backing them up. Even at full strength, in perfect condition, this group would still get caught. So in typical Zeke fashion, he makes a decision without asking permission. I will stay behind, so the rest of you should go on ahead. Everyone loses it. That's reckless, someone snaps. You have to realize that too, Zeke. He shrugs it off completely. He'll act as a decoy. By some time, this premise is nothing compared to what Jack's group threw at him earlier. Then he turns to Laika specifically and gets real for a second. She's the one who wants to become matriarch, isn't she? Then she needs to judge her own capabilities and prioritize accordingly. Cultivate the ability to think that way too. With her current strength, completing the mission is already her absolute limit. Leaving him behind, however much it stings, is the correct call. Don't worry about him. He'll deal with the enemy properly, buy time, and catch up. Laika refuses flat out. No, I'm staying too. Everyone's stunned. What on earth is she saying? And she apologizes to her own sister for it, admitting that even for the sake of the mission, she cannot abandon Zeke. It's a genuinely emotional beat amid the chaos. There's a tense scuffle where Zeke, visibly annoyed at her stubbornness, ends up knocking her out cold with a single decisive strike rather than argue further. Brutal, but effective, and definitely not something she saw coming. With Laika unconscious, Zeke hands her off, telling the others flatly to take her and go. There's a brief moment of hesitation. Are you sure about this? Met with Zeke's classic irritated response. What a foolish question. If I say it's fine, then it's fine. The group starts moving out, though clearly racked with guilt over leaving him. Someone internally acknowledging just how much energy Zeke must have already burned through in the previous fight, and that abandoning him here feels deeply wrong. But Zeke insists, loudly and with total confidence, that he's perfectly fine. As the others retreat with Laika in tow, Zeke promises he'll bring reinforcements as fast as he can and tells them they absolutely must survive no matter what, reflecting privately that being worried about by others like this would have been unthinkable in his past life. Still, dealing with multiple 6-stars solo while fully protecting Laika's group at the same time would honestly be a lot to handle. Alone though, it's a different story. Sparks of dark energy crackling around him as the enemy force closes in. And with a grin edged in violence he declares his real intentions. This was never just a stalling tactic. He never had any intention of merely buying time from the very beginning. A boot lands on soft forest ground, and we cut to a hooded figure standing over the aftermath. The man, sharp-suited and unnervingly calm, wonders aloud whether the other brats ran away, leaving just one behind, and lets out a low, mocking laugh at the thought of someone struggling in vain against overwhelming odds. Nearby, a pack of shadow wolves prowls the trees, snarling, ordered to go hunt down the little lizards that fled. Then Zeke steps into frame, radiating an oppressive pressure that makes even the mercenary group flinch. One of them yells in shock, sword half drawn, and the wolves scatter or hesitate as this pressure rolls off him like a physical weight. The hooded man, unbothered on the surface, then asks, almost politely, who the hell he even is. Zeke answers plainly, I am Zeke. The man clocks something off immediately, sensing an aura that doesn't match a normal fighter. From what he can tell, Zeke reads like a 3-star at best, but the pressure coming off him doesn't line up with that rating at all. After a tense pause, Zeke exhales, visibly worn out. The hooded man, a dagger specialist with a distinctly theatrical flair, steps forward and needles him further. Quite an absurd brat you are. It's obvious he stayed behind as a decoy, but did he really think he could buy time all by himself? Zeke's response is immediate and cutting. Buying time? Don't talk nonsense. He didn't get to go wild enough back in the rift, so this isn't about delaying anyone. He's going to need all of them to keep him company until he's satisfied. And with that, flame ignites around his fists as he charges forward, fully intent on turning this into a real fight rather than a stall tactic. Mid-brawl, a whirlwind of red slices through the enemy ranks. A woman drops in using a technique called Gale Leg Whirlwind, cutting down soldiers with brutal efficiency. She introduces herself simply, Master Zeke, I've come to help you. Zeke, unimpressed on the surface, thanks her but immediately asks why she looks so dissatisfied despite showing up to help. Zeke's gratitude comes out flat and sarcastic. Ah, you have my gratitude, delivered with such a dead expression that she calls him out immediately for not looking grateful at all. Watching this exchange, the mercenary crew recognizes her on sight. The Gale has shown up here, which visibly rattles them, implying Zeke himself must be an extremely important target if someone of her caliber came running to retrieve him personally. The woman clarifies bluntly, incomparably more important than any of you. The enemy leader isn't ready to fold yet though. Smug, he asks what difference it makes even with her here, only to get blindsided as a second attacker strikes from behind, dropping one of his men with a single decisive hit. Startled shouts of, "Who's there?" ring out as the assailant reveals himself with a lazy, "Hey, you're not half bad." Turns out this new arrival is Lidens of the Phantom Shadow, vice captain of the Black Dragon Corps, a name that visibly rattles the enemy commander, stunned that someone of that rank would personally show up here. Off to the side, Zeke privately studies this newcomer's movement, completely devoid of any detectable presence or star ether, stealth arts sharper even than the instructors, dagger handling excellent besides. He's heard rumors about the patriarch's illegitimate child being peculiar, but concludes the guy's genuinely interesting to watch in action. The enemy leader, despite the mounting pressure, tries to rally. The appearance of the Phantom Shadow was unexpected, sure, but their chances of victory aren't zero yet. Zeke isn't impressed by the bravado and warns him not to get it twisted. The only reason his head's still attached to his shoulders right now is because Zeke's been holding back. If he actually felt like it, he could snap every one of their necks in an instant. That threat visibly shakes the enemy ranks, but their leader, cornered, dares him to go ahead and try if he thinks he can. Zeke's response is to summon reinforcements of his own. A burst of golden light and thundering hooves as some kind of beast charges in from the tree line, and he casually notes, he isn't the only one here either. Everyone about to disappear tonight is going to be them, not him. The enemy leader stares in disbelief as the new arrival is identified with dawning horror. Even the Dreadlicator is here? Someone mutters about excessive military force being thrown at what was supposed to be a simple job, and the enemy commander, cornered on all sides, finally asks if Shadow Guy's crew still even wants to fight, offering himself up as an opponent if so. Shadow Guy's answer is icy. If you want to, I'll be your opponent, but the only ones disappearing tonight will be you guys. Facing annihilation, the leader, resigned, announces they'll withdraw for now, to which Lidens, smirking, taunts them for thinking they'd just be allowed to quietly slip away. He lunges to close the distance, but the hooded dagger user pulls something small and glowing from his coat at the last second. The instructor and Lidens both react with alarm. What is that? But before anyone can stop it, the whole enemy squad vanishes in a flash of light, teleported away entirely. Stunned silence follows as everyone processes what just happened. They vanished? Lidens curses under his breath, realizing those bastards had a teleportation orb on hand. The instructor explains for anyone unfamiliar, a teleportation orb is a rare magical tool that instantly transports its user to a pre-designated location the instant it's broken, a considerably valuable item, apparently rare enough that its mere existence surprises even seasoned fighters like her. Zeke, utterly disgusted that they slipped away right when things were getting good, breaks down into exaggerated, near comical tears, wailing that he wanted to fight. The instructor can't help but crack up at how ridiculous he looks in that moment, openly calling him hilarious, while Zeke watches from the sidelines with visible amusement of his own. She composes herself enough to note it seems he let them escape after all, to which Lidens, still sniffling, simply confirms, yes. Zeke chimes back in, admitting he never expected the enemy to have come prepared with a teleportation orb on hand. Even though they fled, he warns the group not to let their guard down completely, since Kerber's territory is close by and there's no guarantee this is truly over. As the tension settles, Zeke, apparently satisfied his part here is done, decides since the instructor is here now anyway, he'll just head back a step ahead of everyone and get some sleep. She protests immediately, telling him to stay until the very end, but by the time she turns around he's already gone, vanished like a ghost, leaving her sighing about how he's a free spirit as always. The instructor turns and he admits there's something he wants to ask about, regarding the magic water. The scene closes on Zeke's face, caught mid-thought with a simple, wary, clearly sensing that whatever's coming next about that magic water isn't going to be a small conversation. The dust from the escape and the failed ambush hasn't even settled before the chapter pivots hard into aftermath. Laika comes sprinting across the field the second she spots him, voice cracking as she screams his name, and Zeke turns with that easy, half-lidded grin like nothing happened, like he wasn't just standing alone against the 6-star commander an hour ago. "Oh, looks like everyone's safe," he says, waving her off like he's the one who should be checking on them. The rest of the party crowds in behind her, and for a beat it's just relief. Messy, unguarded relief, before Laika's face crumples and the guilt she's clearly been sitting on the whole flight back finally breaks loose. He apologizes first, blurting out an "I'm sorry," and Laika, confused, asks what for. He reminds her, for the punch. For the moment he knocked her cold, and shoved her onto a chick mount so she wouldn't stay and die with him. "Does it still hurt?" he asks. She brushes it off with a "No, I'm fine." She finally says what's actually been eating her alive. She left him behind. She ran, and he stayed, and there was nothing she could do about it because he made that choice for her, and that helplessness has been curdling in her chest the entire flight. Zeke doesn't let her sit in it. He tells her he's fine too, that's all that matters, and if it still bothers her then the answer is simple: get stronger. He ruffles her hair like a kid instead of a girl who just watched him volunteer for death, and the rest of the party dissolves into teasing hums. One of the reinforcement mages who flew in with the rescue party, staff in hand, clearly shaken, admits that when Zeke said he'd stay behind alone, he thought Zeke had lost his mind, and thanks whatever gods were listening that the reinforcements arrived in time. Zeke's response is, characteristically, insane. He appreciates the concern, but honestly it would have been better if they'd shown up a little later. Lady Freya and the others got there before he even got to fight. Laika asks if he's seriously saying he wanted to fight a 6-star commander's squad solo, and Zeke, arms crossed, just says, "Of course." That unsettlement gets a face when Lord Teach, gray-haired, composed, clearly the one actually in charge of this rescue detachment, flatly tells Zeke he's insane, sighing that this might be the first time in his life someone's complained about being saved. Freya, red hair, sharp-tongued, backs him up with a laugh. Then Teach's tone drops, and he pivots. "Sorry to bring this up so suddenly, but the magic water, did they manage to secure it?" Laika's internal panic spikes instantly. Did he already know they'd drunk it? She hands over the one bottle they kept sealed, and Teach's reaction blows the moment wide open. This isn't just magic water, it's the rainbow magic water, a variant so rare that even the ordinary colored waters, already priceless, don't compare. This one doesn't lock a drinker into a fixed element. It awakens whatever affinity best suits the person who drinks it. It's implied to be so valuable that even the other 8 Overlord Gates would want it for themselves, which makes what happens next land like a bomb. Laika, still glowing with the thrill of having gotten to taste something so precious, says the quiet part out loud without meaning to. "We actually got to drink something that precious." And Teach's expression goes cold. He doesn't need a confession. As a 7-star, he can simply sense the residual magic power radiating off their bodies. There's no hiding it. What follows is Zeke at his most unrepentantly Zeke. Teach, furious, demands to know what they were thinking, and Zeke, grinning, utterly shameless, asks innocently if they weren't supposed to drink it. When Teach sputters that of course they weren't, Zeke points out that they were ordered to secure the magic water, and no one ever specified how that had to happen. They recovered it exactly as instructed. By drinking it, obviously. Freya calls it sophistry outright, and Zeke just shrugs. Sophistry or not, it's still true, and besides, they did bring one full, untouched bottle back with them. So what's the actual problem? It's the same self-serving logic he used to talk the party into drinking in the first place, now turned on the adults trying to hold them accountable, and it's just as effective. Teach, to his credit, owns the failure. He admits the fault is his for not explaining the mission's terms clearly enough, and apologizes. Freya calls it ridiculous, insists common sense should have been enough to stop them, but Teach waves her down. They still secured a bottle, and Laika and the others gaining magic might end up benefiting the Eldragon family regardless. Then, quieter, the line that reframes the whole rest of the chapter. Whether the family head sees it that way is another matter entirely. A week later, the party stands assembled in a cathedral-scale audience hall, hands clasped behind their backs, facing a throne. And here the tone snaps from banter into something genuinely dangerous. The Eldragon family head, long dark red-black hair, blood-red eyes, radiating the kind of menace that makes the earlier, insane, jokes look like nothing, holds the recovered bottle and asks, without raising his voice, if they drank the magic water. The silence that follows is answer enough. Teach steps forward and bows, taking the blame onto himself for failing to properly brief the mission, then pushes further, reminding the family head that despite the mistake, the group defeated the Kerberos family's elite forces and completed the mission. He kneels and begs for mercy on their behalf. The family head doesn't answer with words. A monstrous burst of crimson, dragon-shaped energy tears across the hall and slams into Teach, hurling him off his feet in a spray of blood. The family head steps over him, casually vicious, telling him not to push his luck, and muses aloud, almost conversationally, about whether splitting their stomachs open and draining every drop of their blood might be a valid way to recover the magic water they wasted. Laika screams Zeke's name in horror. The next panel is the payoff. A massive golden-orange sphere of raw energy dominates the frame, crackling and alive, and standing dead center in the middle of it is RMC, Zeke, flanked by his party. He doesn't come up angry, he comes up amused, sarcastic, needling the family head for still trying to intimidate people with brute force, telling him he hasn't changed a bit, demanding to know what exactly they're dissatisfied with. The mission was completed exactly as ordered. And if anything, he says, they deserve thanks, not fury. The family head counters that drinking the water doesn't count as recovering it, and launches into the real grievance. That water was meant to be bestowed on warriors worthy of it, meant to fuel the Eldragon family's rise. Zeke, unbothered, repeats his same defense. They brought one bottle back. So what's the problem? The family head refuses to answer, accuses Zeke of twisting the mission's purpose with his absurd logic, and finally snaps that hindering the Eldragon family's prosperity will not go unpunished. You'll pay for that. And Zeke, sighing like this is beneath him, offers himself up in place of the whole group. If someone has to be punished, punish only him. Laika and the rest, horrified, only get out a strangled Zeke before he cuts them off entirely, grinning that unsettling grin as he reveals the actual reason he's taking the fall. It was his idea to talk Laika and the others into drinking the water in the first place, so logically, he's the only one who should answer for it. Laika and the others scramble to contradict him, insisting they chose to drink it themselves. That it's true, nobody forced them, but Zeke just steamrolls the moment, telling the family head that settles it. He'll take their punishment too. The family head studies him for a long, silent beat, then relents with a flat, very well. He'll place the entire punishment on Zeke alone. But the mercy comes with teeth. The family head follows up that since the water's already gone, they'll all still need to prove themselves useful to the family going forward. And if they prove useless instead, they'd better be prepared for what comes next, the dragon-shaped aura flaring behind him again as a reminder of exactly what that means. Zeke, unbothered, tells the group he understands, then baits the man further, sarcastically asking if this is their reward, since he's apparently already been to the second floor before. The family head's eye actually twitches at that. He orders him escorted immediately to the second floor of the Dragon Hall. The family head snaps that this isn't for Zeke's sake. It's purely so the recovered magic water doesn't go to waste, gesturing to the surviving bottle. Zeke, entirely undeterred, needles him again. Since they're apparently doing rewards, could he get access to the third floor too? Flashing that same needling grin, the family head's expression darkens sharply. Not the third floor, he says. Instead, he'll send Zeke somewhere special. That somewhere special. The family head formally orders Zeke to the Valley of Fallen Dragons, and the final panels cut to a decayed, bone-littered ruin, all skeletal dragon remains and dead architecture, as Zeke's expression shifts from smug amusement to something sharper and more alert, all of them clearly recognizing the name, even if Zeke himself doesn't quite process it yet. And then, true to form, Zeke does the last thing anyone expects. After a beat of visible shock, he doesn't flinch or protest, he lights up. Excellent, he crows, pumping his fist like he's just been handed a gift instead of a punishment. The family head, momentarily thrown by the reaction, asks flatly if Zeke even knows what kind of place the Valley of Fallen Dragons is. Zeke's answer is immediate and completely unbothered. I don't, he explains himself without a trace of irony. The unknown is a joy to him, and the less he knows about a threat, the more dangerous it is, which only makes him more excited. He follows it up with an almost throwaway declaration. that it doesn't matter what kind of place it is, he'll simply go on being the strongest, delivered with enough swagger that the family head has no real comeback beyond dismissing him outright. That is all, you may leave. Outside, the mood curdles fast. One of the instructors, the same one from the rescue at the rift, watches him go with visible unease. Laika catches up to him first, distress written all over her face, demanding to know why he tried to take all the responsibility onto himself. Zeke's answer is simple and matter-of-fact. He was the one who talked them all into drinking the magic water in the first place, so logically the fallout is his to own. The others aren't willing to let him carry it alone, though. One of the silver-haired teammates insists they chose to drink it themselves, that the decision was theirs and theirs alone. And yet, despite that, Zeke's the one being sent somewhere clearly meant to be fatal. And it's here the story pulls back into the head of Ebo's watching all this unfold, who finally puts words to something that's clearly been forming for a while. Whether Zeke consciously realizes it or not, there's a real weight of responsibility underneath his recklessness. That's why he keeps trying to absorb every consequence himself. Until now, he had only clocked Zeke's outrageous, unpredictable side, but watching this, he starts to wonder if Zeke might actually have more of the instincts of a true family head than anyone gives him credit for. Instructor isn't finished either. Finally tells him plainly what the Valley of Fallen Dragons actually is. Not some abstract punishment, but a place that's been used for years to execute criminals. An execution ground. The group's shock is immediate and visible. This isn't a slap on the wrist. It's meant to kill him. Zeke's response barely changes register. He says he doesn't care what kind of place it is. He'll continue being exactly who he is. And that's all there is to it, prompting more sweat and worry from the people around him rather than reassurance. Zeke turns serious for a moment, genuinely apologizes, catching his teammates off guard, admitting he won't be able to watch over their training as often anymore. It's immediately undercut by his usual bravado. Don't worry, he says, he'll make sure everything's prepared so they can keep training while he's away. But the sincerity underneath lands anyway, and one of the teammates gruffly insists he never needed Zeke's teaching in the first place while clearly not meaning it. The party disperses on that note, Zeke telling them all to keep learning properly and get stronger, promising he'll do the same on his end, wherever he ends up. The final stretch shifts the perspective entirely, cutting to a private exchange involving the family head himself, and one of his subordinates, who confronts him almost accusingly. Is he really sending Zeke to the Valley of Fallen Dragons? That place is a land of certain death that even 7-star warriors can't survive. And Zeke's only just reached 3 stars. Barza shuts the argument down instantly. Enough. My orders are absolute. And doubles down with an open threat that anyone who challenges the decision further will receive no mercy either. But the subordinate has one more question that visibly rattles Barza. Then why did he allow Zeke into the dragon treasury at all? Barza's answer reframes the entire reward. Access is one thing, but whether Zeke can actually take anything out of the treasury is another matter entirely. He recalls, almost begrudgingly, that Zeke resisted his pressure with some strange, unidentified power, but insists that won't help him in the treasury itself. Where the deeper one goes, the stronger the residual power of past family heads becomes, to the point that even Barza himself has never been able to reach the deepest chambers. Given Zeke's current level, he says, the boy will be lucky to get any further than the entrance. The subordinate, watching Barza's uncharacteristic intensity, admits he's never seen him like this before. Barza closes the exchange on something bordering on genuine unease of his own, that no matter what Zeke manages to pull out of the treasury, it won't matter once he's actually in the Valley of Fallen Dragons, because there's a kind of despair waiting there that can't be overturned no matter what he does. It's the first time the story suggests the valley isn't just dangerous, it might be genuinely unbeatable. Then the scene cuts hard back to the present, where Zeke stands in a chamber lit by pale blue magic, one hand still glowing, unimpressed. Is this all? He mutters. The story rewinds a few hours to the actual moment he first steps into the dragon treasury, escorted by the same instructor who's been shadowing him. Zeke, sizing the place up, notices there are 7-star guards posted here just like at the Dragon Hall, which he takes as proof of how seriously the current Eldragon family treats this place. He asks Teach outright how far he's actually allowed to go inside, and Teach's answer is blunt, as far as you can. Unlike the Dragon Hall, there are no movement restrictions inside the treasury. The catch, Teach warns, is that actually reaching the deeper vaults is another matter entirely. The treasury holds countless items once used by past family heads, and those items carry tremendous residual power. Power strong enough that pushing deeper gets exponentially harder the further in you go. Teach's actual advice is pragmatic. There might be things deep inside strong enough to help him survive the Valley of Fallen Dragons, but even someone like Zeke would struggle to extract one. His real recommendation is to aim for the single strongest spiritual medicine within reach and settle for that. Zeke thanks him for the advice, and then, predictably, ignores the spirit of it entirely, telling Teach flatly that he'll decide for himself what to take. What follows is Zeke wandering the vaults with visibly deflating enthusiasm. He flatly declares that none of these are of any use to him, unimpressed by blades and artifacts that would presumably be treasures to anyone else in this world. He allows himself a little private grumbling. Given how dramatically Teach and the others built this place up, he'd expected something genuinely dangerous or overwhelming, and instead it's, in his own word, a disappointment. Still, he can't help but grudgingly note that whoever assembled this collection put in real effort. Then something stops him cold. Deep in the vault, past everything else, he doesn't find a weapon. He finds a wall that's been cut clean through. His attention snaps instantly. This isn't damage or decay, it's a sword mark, and Zeke recognizes immediately that it was made by someone operating at the 9-star level. He wonders, almost to himself, whether someone actually managed to reach that level after he died. He calls the mark nostalgic. If he remembers correctly, this is the Emperor's stone wall he personally trained on back when he was 9-star in his previous life. Meaning this cut isn't some ancient relic left by a stranger, it's a wound he inflicted himself, centuries ago, as Gilphus. He calls it a shame that no rival ever came along to test that strength against, then shakes off the moment, and pushes forward, boots scraping across stone as he passes case after case, swords, spears, ceremonial-looking items with no obvious function. He keeps up a running commentary as he walks. Why would anyone bother collecting this much, when none of it is actually useful to him? He reiterates, almost sulking now, that there's genuinely nothing here he wants. Just as he's mentally checked out and resigned to leaving empty-handed apart from a consolation prize, something catches his eye near a desk-like surface deeper in the room. He stops. A small, wordless escapes him, and then his expression shifts entirely. His eyes widen, startled, as he registers exactly what he's looking at. He doesn't get to finish the thought. Zeke tells Teach he's made his choice, and when Teach asks what on earth he actually took, Zeke thrusts up a pair of plain green bracelets with a triumphant grin. Teach's reaction is pure disbelief, sputtering that bringing personal items out of the treasury is strictly forbidden, and demanding to know what Zeke was even thinking letting himself get talked into this. Zeke, unbothered as always, just declares he found a fine piece and is thoroughly satisfied. Teach presses further, pointing out he doesn't know every single item in the dragon treasury, but he's certain he's never seen a piece that a warrior ranked 4-star to 7-star could actually withstand wearing. Zeke shrugs it off, saying it was just sitting near the entrance, prompting a bewildered "How?" from Teach. Teach examines it more closely, from the look of it, bracelets or anklets, and asks pointedly if Zeke even knows what he's holding. Zeke's answer is a flat, confident, "Of course." He answers by putting them on and demonstrating instead of explaining. The moment the bracelets clack shut around his wrists, his whole demeanor shifts. His aura visibly darkens, more intense, more focused, and Teach reacts with open shock. Zeke calmly reveals the truth. This was a training tool used by Sieg, his own past life identity, prior to reincarnation, forged from a rare material that draws in true source power, his own personal magic system. Worn on the body, they siphon away all of the wearer's true source power, leaving them completely unable to draw on their aura. And worse, the more power they absorb, the heavier they become, to the point that they function less like a training aid and more like literal shackles meant to restrain a criminal. Zeke, delighted with himself, marvels that something this valuable was just lying around near the entrance completely unclaimed, and concludes that whoever curates the treasury clearly has no eye for real value. Teach, exasperated, asks what's next. Is Zeke about to be shipped straight off to the abandoned Dragon Valley? Now that this is settled, Zeke's answer reframes the stakes entirely. To him, having an elixir or not makes literally no difference. What matters more, he says, is a request. He asks Teach for a favor, holding out a note. Teach opens it warily, bracing for something absurd, and it turns out to be training instructions for Rika and the rest of the party. Zeke entrusting Teach with a regimen to keep them improving while he's away, quietly wondering if this bizarre, extreme-looking training plan might actually be the secret behind Zeke's own monstrous strength. Then the scene shifts straight to arrival. Zeke and Teach reach the edge of a bleak, skeleton-strewn wasteland, the abandoned Dragon Valley, littered with the bones of long-dead dragons, its atmosphere thick with what Zeke Zeke immediately clocks as a dense aura of death, explaining exactly why the place carries its name. In a flashback aside, every carriage Zeke boards inexplicably breaks its wheels, the horses simply refuse to move, and the group is ultimately forced to walk the entire way on foot, which Teach recounts with visible exhaustion while Zeke just marvels loudly at how deep and bottomless the valley looks. Zeke, examining the terrain, notes with genuine curiosity that a place like this couldn't have existed 1,000 years ago, back during his previous life, and wonders aloud when it could have formed. Teach interrupts to lay out the actual terms of the sentence. Zeke will be left here with nothing, no food, clothing, or shelter provided. Zeke says he doesn't mind that, but asks how long the sentence lasts. Teach admits he'd heard it was meant to run until graduation, but revises that down, given the circumstances, probably closer to 3 years. He delivers the truly damning coda without flinching. Not a single person has ever returned alive from this place. Zeke absorbs that in silence, before Teach shows him the treacherous, decaying stairway down into the valley, warning that whether Zeke makes it to the bottom safely at all is genuinely uncertain given their crumbling condition. Zeke thanks Teach cheerfully for guiding him, and then, without hesitation, simply steps off the ledge and free falls straight down into the valley, ignoring the stairs entirely, his voice trailing off into fragmented syllables as he plummets while Teach shouts after him in disbelieving horror. Falling without any true source power to cushion the impact rattles him badly on landing, and he grumbles about the bracelet's crushing weight and the pain of the fall, but shakes it off fast. Surveying the bottom of the valley, thick with dragon bones and a suffocating, oppressive gloom, he admits this place is exceptionally bleak, gloomier than anywhere else he's seen, undercut instantly by a burst of violent motion as something reacts to his presence at the very bottom of the valley, finally reveals itself in a burst of motion. Its voice is casual, almost bored. Fresh prey has finally come along. The dragon looms in, expecting an easy kill, sneering that a tiny human like this isn't going to do anything, and then stops short. Its eye flickers, unsettled. Something's wrong. It tries to pull its claw back and can't. My hand is somehow. It starts, before the sentence is cut off entirely by a colossal eruption of golden light and fire tearing straight up through its grip, engulfing the beast and sending it reeling backward mid-roar. Zeke stands at the center of the blast. He shakes off the landing and takes in the scene with unmistakable delight, calling it a splendid place to train. A second, larger dragon watching from the wreckage reacts with alarm, murmuring, "This guy, training?" The first dragon isn't done though. It lashes out again, closing in with a burst of red lightning-wreathed fury, snarling at Zeke not to get the wrong idea. "This place," it starts to say, before Zeke's expression goes cold and unreadable, lit by crackling energy of his own as the two collide again. As Zeke stands facing down the towering, red-eyed dragon with its jaws splitting open above him, the creature delivers the line the whole chapter's been building toward. "This place is your graveyard." And that's where we'll wrap things up for today. If you enjoyed this recap, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.